with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Nutt,
Here.
Ryan,
Here.
Duff,
Here.
Germani,
Here.
Liborn. Here. Kuznicki,
Here.
Newman.
Here. Additions to business. Couple.
We have two tonight, yes. First, under item 12K, we have a request to move into closed session to discuss attorney-client privileged communication. I would like to add to that an additional discussion topic to discuss the purchase of real estate pursuant to MCL 15.2681 D as in dog. So the same agenda item, but just two bases for the closed session instead of one. And then second, I'm going to suggest that we add an item 12L right after the closed session item regarding the farmer's market coordinator. We're going to have the farmer's market starting after the 1st of June, and based upon the materials that we've been putting together so far, I think it's appropriate that we designate a farmer's market coordinator. So,
Motion to approve as amended.
Second?
Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Can you approve the agenda?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Correspondence information, we have a few. From Oakland County Parks and Rec, they're recognizing the individuals who has served or currently served with some free vouchers for camping for visits to the parks. So nice recognition. Have a market update. Then we have a correspondence from the chair regarding trash pickup or lack thereof at times. And the last one, we have Comcast. Looks like they're dropping the Fox Weather Heroes and Icons WJBK, so.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Newman, any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, first call to public. It's an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items.
Motion to open. Second.
Motion by Duff. Motion by Duff, second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Open.
Good evening. My name is Mike Dorsey, 2425 Brisbane. I'm here in regards to the BMX track. I spoke to the Parks and Rec about 2 weeks ago at the meeting, just had some issues. I'm a mostly retired builder, and I've spent the better part of the past 60 years in the construction industry, and I've seen many different municipalities buying up open spaces, trying to create open spaces. And I see things going on in the park that seem like you're trying to fill in open spaces, you know. The last council had some stuff going on and so on and so forth. So when this BMX thing came up, I thought, you know, this is a great idea. But then as it was all laid out, we were a little bit more concerned about it. So my concerns were the signage for the corners or for the park, and I believe there are 3 of them there now. We'd like to have one more. I brought this to Mr. Gillum and to Chief Sovic. I want to thank you both for, I mean, they were right on this, and they put out stuff on the internet. The issue was the use of motorized vehicles. The first day that the heavy equipment was in there balancing the soil and laying it out, as soon as they left, the motorbikes hit it that fast. I mean, it wasn't even done, and it ripped it up. Anyway, the police department and Mr. Gillum have done a really nice job of policing that. One of my neighbors did tell me that at 6 o'clock tonight, there was two motorized vehicles out there racing around on it, but they have this penchant for coming down the street, going in there, racing around it 2 or 3 times, and off they go, and I don't know how you're gonna catch them, but we had thought maybe there's a possibility of installing a security camera there at some point. I know we have them at at different spots in the park. Does anyone know what the conclusions from the environmental impact statement for this project may have revealed? The reason that I ask is, in the business I was in, we were always told from way back in the 60s when I started this, that any digging you do or whatever, you never should stack up materials of any type on tree roots, because the weight will kill the trees, and I've actually seen it happen. I don't know if anybody had looked at that, but the other issue is the use of asphalt millings, which are a petroleum-based product. And so the leachings from these also can damage trees. However, the bigger problem probably is, will it leach into the groundwater? Because there are still shallow wells up there. Those will be the first residents that will be affected. But if it does get leaches down far enough into an aquifer, I mean, it'll end up in probably the wetland at the end of Brisbane first, and then will end up in the lake, if that's possible. I mean, I don't know. It's just something that we had wondered if there was a study done on that. The area of the park that was used for this project is actually the narrowest part of the park and is the most treed. And why this was put there, we're just trying to see what the thinking was behind that, why they would put it in there. Anytime there is work done like through the ZBA or whatever, there's a notice that's sent out to property owners within, I don't know how many feet it is in the village. Every municipality has a little, it's 900 feet in some, it's 300 in the other. I'm sure around the lake, everybody is notified, especially the residents right on the lake when there's something going to happen on the lake. Can this happen to all the attaching properties to the park, or the parks? So is there a notice that goes out? We saw them stack the millings up there last year and thought, well, they're probably going to keep it right there on the corner and put a couple of jump in it. Then it turned in, I mean, it's a nice BMX track, there's no two ways about it. But I think we need to kind of take a look at things there. I mean, when we look at that, we're thinking, okay, if they're going to do that, the ideal area, we think, now that we see what's there, would have been, you go right down the road here and they have a parking lot, and they have the beautiful memorial, Veterans Memorial there, and then behind that they have the workout stations and so on and so forth. And then right behind that would be, if it was set up in there in front of the pines, it wouldn't bother the people behind and it wouldn't bother people out in front. You could still do it, and
Point of order, Mr.
it
President.
would
Time
be
has
a lot
elapsed.
easier to police because it would be right on Glengarry. And I don't know. I mean, if we find that the placement of those materials on the soil down there is going to be detrimental, I mean, there's an opportunity to correct that before it becomes a catastrophe. So, which would mean removing the soils, probably taking them to an area or to, I guess, a landfill or whatever that has a barrier between them and the soil. So,
Thank you, Mr. Doss. We do have a 5-minute time limit per speaker.
pardon me?
So we do have a 5-minute time limit per speaker, so
All right.
we
Thank you for
appreciate your
time.
thoughts. Thank you.
Dave Labor,
4335 Shake. If you can open E and G, like we discussed something here.
I think you may be asking if we're going to have discussion on those agenda
On
items
on the agenda items?
at the time.
Um, On E and G, if that's what you're asking?
Pardon me?
On E and G, if we're going to have discussions
Yeah, so when you open it up.
with pavement striping and the sound system?
I'm sorry?
The pavement striping and the sound system, is that?
Right.
I'm assuming if there's need to be discussion for it, there will be.
Open it up at that time and I'll talk about it.
Well, this is the time
Normally
to,
what they do,
this is the time to open up and talk about agenda items right now.
you don't, please, open it up at that time. If you can't, that's fine.
Okay.
Tom Daly, 2377-2381 Ventura. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak again today. I know in February we had a meeting. We talked about the issues with the public property, the right-of-way that's in front of my current property at 2377. Council recognized in February that there was an issue there, and they committed to providing a resolution for that. As a result of that, there was a study done by TIA, which we talked about last time. 3 of the 4 recommendations that had been taken care of already by the village have not solved the issue. There was one that was left, which was actually going and paving that all the way out to the end where their interface between the private and the public property existed, so that there was a clear identification of the proper usage for each of those, right? The village has now gone out and they've expanded the scope of the issue, and they've now included a broader area from what I actually asked to be corrected, which was that area right in front of that property. I'm happy to help with the initiative, as there are certainly a lot of problems with the parking that are going on Ventura. So I'm happy to help with that, okay? But I guess I really want to understand why I can't get a resolution to the issue that I'm talking about specifically. And specifically, the issue being, right, that there was property in front of the two, properties, there's public property, right? It's unique public property, and it services 2 private properties, right? That's directly in front of both of those, so it supports both of them, and it supports access and traffic flow for emergency and public vehicle uses, right? It's also unique in that the property was developed now, since it was deeded, right? It's now been redeveloped in a manner that it can't be considered public property any longer. There are people that are using it as a private parking lot, right? And the addition of the driveway approach, it covers more than 50% of that area that's supposed to service my property as well, okay? The design that was approved for this, okay, I've got information that I got through a FOIA that shows that it was, the design of it was not only vague, what's been built is not actually to what the design that was submitted, right? And it didn't have anything stating that there was unique requirements for that right-of-way, okay, that was public property. So none of that stuff was taken into consideration when all that stuff happened, okay? So they've created these long-term problems that I showed you, right? And the presentation that I gave you in February documented those issues completely, and it documented that all of the steps that you guys have taken so far have not been able to get that under control, okay? The only remaining corrective action that's been proposed by TIA, right, was to take and pave the public property all the way to the interface with the private property, so it's clearly defined, so that it reduced the confusion and it reduced the uncertainty with the use, and it could provide for the means to have proper enforcement in that area. So I'm asking again, I know you guys are gonna go into, I saw the note that was put out to the village council, and I saw what was put in there about the responses that they got back from 30 different people that they sent it out to. This issue is specific to the two properties that are on the south side of the northwest end of Ventura. That's the part. I'm happy to help you with all the rest of it, because I've actually said that there needs to be some additional parking put in that roadway where the circle is, and I'm happy to help you do all that stuff. But I think, and I've asked, and I gave enough leeway for you guys to go out and do the TIA study, even though it was told me it might take a little bit of time. So I've been understanding in that, but now I'm asking for you guys to do something and correct that situation, because it's continuing to happen, number one, and it's gonna get worse during the summer. So that's what I'm asking for. I'm now asking you, are there any questions, right, that the council have, or any concerns, or any reason why you think that can't be done? I'm happy to answer those for you at this point in time. I think it's clear. This is really no different than if you had public property at a park or something and you weren't letting somebody use that public property. It was deeded for public use. It's not being used in that manner right now. And I'm asking for it to be corrected. I've been asking for 10 years. It's really gone far enough. Are there any questions that anybody has? Thank you. I have another topic, but I'll wait and see if there's anybody else.
Mr. Powell, I have a question. Ms. White, I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I have a question for you regarding that. According to some of the information we got, the right-of-way, it does show, obviously the corner that Mr. Jay was talking about. It also shows the north side of that cul-de-sac also. So and then some other parts of the road also. So if we do that, we have to do the whole thing, or can we do parts of it?
Oh, the council can pick and choose, absolutely, and
we
you'd
can
be
just
wise
pave.
to do that, because quite frankly, to carry out the specifics as directed or as shown by TIA would cause a major problem on the vast majority of the other homes there. If you take a look at the east side, if what Mr. Daly is looking to do just in front of his home, if you do it on the east side, it would take away parking because the right-of-way goes down within feet of the garage there on the east side. So you would be providing something that Mr. Daly's looking for, but then you'd have all the neighbors on the east side extremely upset because they would have no place to park whatsoever, because the right-of-way goes right down adjacent to their garage. So it's a very solemnistic type issue to where council would have to decide what is the proper way to do that intersection. I will point out, there is no road virtually anywhere where it's paved right up to the right-of-way. Even a new cul-de-sac, there's typically 10 to 15 feet of unpaved area that a village or a community owns that is grass that's in front of people's homes, and virtually everyone in the village has that between the right-of-way and where their property starts. I mean, where the pavement is, there's 10 to 15 feet of right-of-way there that is driveway, not paved to the road. And so all of that has to be taken into account. I think that might be a good work session, depending on the other responses from the rest of the community on Ventura.
If I can respond to that, please. That is, your statement that all the other ones have 10 to 15 is correct. But I would say 99% of the village does not service, that right-of-way doesn't service multiple properties.
Every cul-de-sac does, in the village,
No, sir, not for direct access in and out of their
Okay,
property.
yes.
Mr. Daly, we're not going to go back and
Thank you,
forth with
yes.
that.
Right.
We're going to keep, Mr.
Right.
Daly, we're going to keep this.
There are
Mr. Daly,
two that are
we're gonna keep this
serviced
a
in this
discussion.
It's unique.
Okay.
This is a unique situation.
Appreciate it, thank you. We're going to keep, we're not going to have it back and forth like we did last time, so I appreciate your input, thank you. That was my only question for you.
Yes.
Mike, thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else that has another one? I'm here also today to get an update on what's going on with the condemnation procedure that's been taken, or has been stated that's going to be taken against my property at 2381 Ventura. Can you please help me understand what's going on with that?
That's, good information.
Nothing has changed since we last discussed it.
Okay.
We're in the process of doing the legwork necessary for that legal action.
So, can I ask a question then?
Point of
How-
order,
how
Mr.
is the-
President, this is not an agenda item.
Sure it is. It's 12L.
No, it is
It's
not.
12.
No, it is not.
No, it is not.
What is 12L? Since you're not listing what 12L is, what is 12L?
12L is the designation of a farmer's market coordinator. That was added to the agenda
I'm
tonight.
sorry, what is the item that's going to close session about?
It's an item of attorney-client privilege communication that does not involve your property.
Okay, then I will ask again, what has happened since the last month that I asked this? It's been 2.5 years since you told me you were going to condemn my property. It's been 8 years since we brought, this whole thing has been brought to attention. 8 years. I'm asking that the council,
We do have
I don't
second
care about
call-
what the,
We do have a second call of order
Huh?
we have a second call of order for any village business, so that'd be the appropriate time to raise that question, Mr. Daly.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Plassey. I'm here in regards to the property 2905 on South Commerce Road. I think it's agenda number I. I'm here representing Behavior for All. We petitioned the city to change the city ordinance. I realize it's an agenda item and will happen later in the day, but I wanted to take any questions in case my +1 doesn't make it till the end of this session. Are there any questions I can answer about the reason behind the ordinance change request? Jump too far. Okay. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was that it yet?
Did you have a question? That was item I. Yep. That was maybe the first reading
Yeah, yeah.
of the ordinance, yep.
Sorry, did I jump out of order too much?
No.
It's agenda item.
I just don't know how long we'll make it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. My name is William Berndorf. I live at 264 Angola Street, and I just wanted to ask a little bit of a question about this parking situation on Ventura that Mr. Daly has been dealing with. I've been talking to Tom a lot about the things that go on and his concerns about the parking, and I just heard from council that the issue really is that if you change that parking situation, it causes an effect for 22 other families, if I'm not mistaken, or households, as far as that cul-de-sac goes. So I guess it's an issue not only for Mr. Daly, but for anybody who lives within that area. Is there something the council can do to help alleviate that situation for everybody involved? So that's my question as far as Mr. Daly's property goes. Is there something that can be done? Because at least for the last 10 years, he's experienced issues with people that are parking in his property or on his property and on the roadway in a no parking area. So as a village council, can we figure something out that makes sense for everybody who lives in that general area? That's it. Question.
guess I just want to say, I think we hear that, and we're trying, letters were sent out to people, we're trying to gather information, we're trying to come up with a resolution. We don't have one yet, but we're listening.
That's good. That's a good start, but I do know this has been going on for a long time. And our village here is a great village, and the people on the council are great people. And I think that it's really helpful to our community if the village can take these situations and help those that live in the village with an answer to these questions. It's been a long time he's been working with this, so I guess maybe the village could speed the process up so we could get an answer and a resolution to the issue. Thank you.
Let's do it again. Gonna set it up?
Mr. Renwick, name and address.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Renwick. Dave Renwick, 685 Amenia. I'm back again about the trash fee. The village's trash fee was neither voted on or accepted by the citizens of this village, but was instead foisted on the citizens as a fee by a council claiming it was an emergency measure.
I hate
And
to
in fact,
interrupt. Is this an agenda item?
I believe the budget is an agenda item, yes, sir. Is it not? It's the last item on the agenda, I thought.
No, we're setting topics for our work session.
For the session
interviews,
budget.
so.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay.
Is that acceptable? See, this, I know you meant it nicely, but when somebody that is not used to coming to talk is interrupted, it really does break your concentration.
My apologies.
If you're trying to do something. I realize someone else would probably have said it if you hadn't, but I appreciate you doing it. Anyways, it was council claiming that the trash fee was an emergency measure, when in fact there was no provable emergency outside of council claiming the sky is falling. This was the old council. Again, I'm conflicted with the old council and the new. The record proves there was a healthy fund balance when this fee was imposed, and that there was time to take it to a vote of the people before implementation. But council chose not to. Why? The record also proves council knew this fee would collect more than was necessary to avert this projected shortfall, this supposed financial emergency. But council chose to push the measure through without a vote of the people. Why again? And why did council never mention the general fund growing disproportionately after this tax was imposed? Excuse me, this fee was imposed, or revisit it when this unorthodox general fund growth was pointed out to them? The fact is that in government, taxes and fees are supposed to be collected to cover an approved budget, not to overcollect, but to be fiscally responsible to its citizens, with its citizens' tax dollars, and only collect enough to cover projected expenses. So why was this not done? None of you were here when that went down, not even the administrator. Bless your hearts. But why was council okay with over-collecting what was needed to stave off this so-called emergency shortfall? This ugly point was partially revealed a year and a half later when council had yet another emergency. Can anybody see a pattern here? This time, the emergency was in the form of the village weed harvester breaking down and needing replacing. Mind you, this was the same constantly needing repair weed harvester that I had motioned and asked for a second, did not get one, about creating a rolling fund for at least 10 years earlier. But council never chose to do so. Now suddenly, it had to be addressed at one meeting just before a scheduled election where council members would change, by a council that had ignored the imminent warning signs of a harvester breakdown for years. Why? So this wasn't an emergency, just having a council not having the foresight to create a rolling fund for this known problem. But the worst thing the old council did was kick this shortfall ball down the road to you guys. You're going to have to deal with it. Expenses and wages have both increased in the intervening 15 years, and now you are going to have to address a soon-to-come shortfall. Hopefully, you, as the new council, will address this by adjusting our taxes and not by imposing another fee, which disproportionately affects and hurts smaller households and those citizens on fixed incomes. Do your duty, but also do your best to do the least damage to the people you serve this time. And just a simple yes or no question. Has the trash fee been discussed at any point up to now? Can I ask that?
And next question, it has.
It has?
It has.
Has anything been done?
Has it yet?
Is anything
Yeah.
going to be done, or has it just been talked about?
Has been talked about. I can't answer
Okay.
your second question.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
I want to mention something about the BMX course, besides being a bad location.
Name and address, please.
Oh, 2432 Brisbane. And
And name?
Larry Scowlin. Anyway, I've seen more motorbikes on there than regular bikes. As Mike was saying, I see 6 o'clock tonight. I've called a number for evenings, weekends, goes to Oakland County. Dispatcher said, well, the first one was real nice. Then the second one didn't seem to know where Wolverine Lake was. And she wanted to know, was it white, black, Mexican? So I told her white. Wanted to know what color bicycles there were. And black and red and black. And wanted to know if they had helmets on. And I didn't think it related to having motorcycles, motorbikes on the course. Anyway, I called twice the number to call evenings, or bad hours, and nobody showed up either time from Oakland County. So I think them signs are worthless. That's all. Bye.
Anybody else?
May I, I'm sorry, may I ask, is the Eagle Scout young person here tonight, or? Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
Motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of approving the following consent agenda. Motion.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Brian. Any discussion?
Just a quick housekeeping item.
Mhm.
The last page of the minutes has my name spelled incorrectly. If we can have that updated, that'd be great.
Do a friendly amendment to accept it as presented with the change to Ms. Latham's name.
Friendly motion? Yes.
Yep.
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Newman,
Yes.
Laybourne,
Yes.
Kuznicki,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes. Number 9, board appointments. Recommend council appoint Donald Strick as a member of the Parks and Rec Board for the term expiring 12/31/2026.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Giramini. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Was he here?
No.
No.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Kuznicki,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Laybourne.
Yes.
This is to our presentation, co-responder introduction.
As you guys are aware, we've added a mental health technician to Oakland County Mental Health. And we have Turner Smith here, who is he's the guy that they end up hiring. His immediate supervisor, Hillary, is also here, who was one of the original co-founder, or the co-responders in Bluefield Township, who made this plan so successful. She is Turner's supervisor. Turner comes to us from Topeka, Kansas, and Denver PD, and so he's coming back to these 4 units here, the Wolverine Lake, Wixom, White Lake, and us. It's a little bit more slower pace for him, but he's been a great tool to us. His name is Turner Smith. I just wanted to introduce him to you, put a name with a face. He's already seen some action in some more serious events in other jurisdictions, not so much us, but he has responded to a couple of referrals that we have made him to, but he's been a fantastic resource. Him and Hillary, well-oiled machine, bringing him on and him assisting us, our officers, and some of our citizens getting the help that they need has been just overwhelmingly fantastic for us. We couldn't be happier to have him and Hillary on board with us, and so just wanted to put a name with a face with Hillary and Turner Smith.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Powell.
Thank you, council. I have 2 payment requests before you tonight. They're both on the BMX track that was discussed a little bit earlier. The first one is for Alpine Land Surveying. They are the land surveyor that did the staking for the actual construction or the building of the BMX track. They have requested a payment of $3,877.50 for their time in laying out that track. And they had to do surveying a couple times in there, once to see that it was laid out properly, another time to put some staking back for the actual construction, and then to verify that it was constructed properly as well. So I'm suggesting that council pay Alpine Land Surveying, again, $3,877.50.
Motion to approve Alpine Land Surveying for the amount not to exceed $3877.50.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Jermaine,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Kuznicki,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Laybourne. Yes.
The next item, Mr. President, is the actual construction of the track itself. If you recall, based upon my review of the bids, and four contractors submitted bids for this project, and back on March 6th, Schaefer's Incorporated, after doing a proper analysis of the bids, came in at $11,900, which was the low bid for the construction of the project. His actual time came in less than what was bid, so therefore we recommend payment to Schaefer's Incorporated in the amount of $11,162.50.
Make a motion that we pay Schaefer's Incorporated the amount of not to exceed $11,162.50.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion on that?
Under budget.
On the budget. Roll call, please.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Jermaine?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes. Duff?
Yes.
Kuznicki?
Yes.
Just before I get to the last item, which is the road paving program last year, I do want to just point out for council that an environmental analysis on that specific project was not done. However, we have had the evaluation of millings evaluated by Eagle, it used to be DEQ, and the placement of asphalt millings is not a pollution-causing product. There is no leaching of the asphalt into or their products into the ground. If that were the case, really every road that's in the country would be adding to the groundwater pollution. So it's a very stable material. So therefore, I can state that. We have that determined by Eagle. Location, of course, that's a whole different issue, and that was done, I believe, with many public hearings. Item number 2, the 2024 road paving program. As council knows, we hold back funds from every paving program to reevaluate the pavement in the springtime after it's been through a winter. We walked all the pavement. There were a number of markings on the pavement done by snow plows, done by construction equipment, over and above what the actual pavers did. However, there were a half dozen items that need some repair. I was very impressed. We drove and walked the entire project with the contractor. He's coming in and they're going to repave some areas. They're going to repair some areas of some cracking that was developed, some bad jointing. So they have stepped up and they're going to be doing that here in the next couple of weeks. And so I would expect at our meeting next month, I will have a recommendation for payment of the retained funds that we've held back after they get done with those repairs. So unless you have any other questions, that's the end of my reports.
Mike, at the last Park and Rec meeting, we had a resident come in with some concerns about the layout of the BMX track. And I know I gave him your email address and everything. And I'm just curious what was discussed there or what concerns specifically he had.
Yes, I certainly heard the concerns tonight, but I do have a document here submitted by a resident and his kids. They have some ideas as to how to tweak the track. I do want to point out that this track was designed from an internet-type layout. Then it was submitted to the president of the BMX Association in Michigan. He reviewed it. He made some red marks to it. We made those modifications. So the suggested changes are really very subjective, which it's certainly not a problem. If this were going to be a tournament track, then we'd have to be very specific as how things were built. Since it's just an enjoyment thing for the children of the village, it's certainly not a major deal as to how to tweak the site for different age kids, different type bikes, things like that. So the one document that I do have came to me on April 22nd, and it's a gentleman whose kids use it, and he is a contractor. I've contacted him, he has submitted some insurances to be able to cover him if he's going to do some work on the track. He has heavy equipment, he's provided his insurances, and so Mr. Gillum and I will be interviewing him and going out to the track and seeing if the modifications might be too aggressive. But otherwise, we are going to deal with his concern, the concerns of the exact location and certainly the use of motorbikes. That's something that council has to wrestle with as to the best way to deal with that.
Thank you, Mike. 11 public hearings, we have none. And 12 new business. Parks and Rec Board recommendations. Mark, would you like to take that one?
Sorry.
Yeah. 12 Parks and Rec recommendations.
So we are requesting $250 for the, to create some signage and some things like that for the upcoming farmer's market. So we can put those out when the market's on and catch traffic and let them know that we got something great going on in the park.
Motion to approve funds for signage not to exceed $350 for the farmer's market.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremini. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Jeremini?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Laybourne? Yes. Kiznicki?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
This motion is a request for $100 to cover some repairs to the bulletin board. It's taken some sun damage and got some water in it, and we wanted to polish it up a little bit and seal it up so that it stays fresh and appealing.
Mark, just for clarification, this is the bulletin board over at Claire Miller Park?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
Not at the village.
right, thank you.
Make a motion that we release $100 for maintenance for repairs of the bulletin board at Clara Miller.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion? No, roll call, please.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Laybourne? Yes. Kiznicki?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Okay. Beautification Committee, request council to release $400 for the purchase of spring plants.
Motion to release $400 for the beautification committee to do spring plantings.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Newman?
Yes.
Laybourne? Yes. Kiznicki?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes. C, approval of the Lakes Area Youth Assistance volunteer members.
Council, the village is one of the sponsors of Lakes Area Youth Assistance. Every year, the board forms a new, or Leah forms a new board of directors, so to speak. And as part of their bylaws, they ask all the communities that support Leah to approve the slate of board of directors that have been proposed. The slate for this year is contained in both my memo from May 9th and the correspondence that I received from Stephanie Kaplan, the chairperson, over at Leah, dated April 10th. You recognize that there are a couple of names that are new to the Leah board, but familiar to us. Both Pam Kiznicki and Aaron Laybourne are proposed to be board members for this year. So, again, our recommendation is that the village approve the list of the Youth Assistance Board of Directors for 2025.
Motion to approve as presented for Leah volunteer members.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. Let's have a roll call, please.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Kiznicki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Laybourne? Yes.
D, the resolution approving the West Nile Virus Fund Expense Reimbursement Request under Oakland County's West Nile Virus Program.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Def, second by O'Brien. Any discussion?
What, I guess I'm confused. What was the expense?
At this point, there has been no expense, but eventually there will be an expense. We'll get bug spray, number one. We'll provide free of charge to our residents. And then also, there are the mosquito tablets that the DPW will drop in the various catch basins and other places throughout the village to keep mosquitoes from nesting and forming. So, under the county program, we get reimbursed by the county for the expenses of purchasing the bug spray and the pellets, if you will.
Thank you.
So it's a zero cost.
It's a zero cost, that's correct. Yeah, they set a cap as to what the amount of reimbursement is, and then we'll spend up to that penny, not more, not less.
Okay, we had a motion and a second, so roll call.
Jeremini?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Kazmicki?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes.
Come to E, pavement striping.
Would you like me to speak on this?
Yes, sir.
Evening, council.
Evening, Andy.
Specifically, we're talking about mostly the recreational path or bike path striping. Received three different prices from three different companies. It's a little more extensive this year because of some of our paving over in the Wolverine Drive area. There's a little bit more striping. Typically, just so council's aware, what I've been trying to do in the past is use our recreational path, much like I do with our major road striping. I'll paint north side of village, south side of village, kind of split the costs up every year, and we can kind of balance that out. And it balances pretty good. There's a little bit more extensive striping this year for several reasons. Like I said, I received three different prices, highest being of $9,720, second highest price being $7,850, and a low bidder of industrial commercial striping will be used a couple times before, came in at $7,550. I've included that, I believe the map of the village was included with the council packet to show the extensive areas throughout the village that would be restriped this year.
I'll make a motion that we approve industrial commercial striping of New Hudson, Michigan, not to exceed $7,550.
I'll second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion on this? Yeah, we had a request to open this item up. So,
Thank you, council.
so we did have a request to open the item up, if council would care to.
Motion
I
to
open
open.
it for Mr. Labor.
Motion by Jeremini. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second to open. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're open for item E.
I apologize, because we used to do it differently when I was on the council. We used to take, how many people would want to open it? And if we had 5 people, then most of them had the same subject to talk about, so we could move those people a little bit faster. So you guys did it the other way around. Anyhow, we just came back from North Carolina, Pinehurst, I don't know if you had anybody
Mr.
heard.
Leonard.
We went down there golfing, stayed at the kids' houses, and the most beautiful subdivision I ever seen. And their streets had stripes. I didn't see one sign in that community that had rust in their signs. When I came back home, I got on Shaken, there's a nice new sign down there. Then you guys striped all the way to Shaken Court and stopped the striping. And all of a sudden I look at the signs, what do they look like? Rust. Everything's rust. You've got down Wanda, rust. In front of your house, I would go nuts if I had to see that sign all rusty. And you go down to Wanda, Wabasso, all the way down at the end, rust. We're better than that. One of the first things people see when they come to our community is our signs, our roads. What? We can buy a nice desk for you guys. We should have spent some money on this for the community. The other thing is, you guys put this up to stop the traffic. If you have time, go over Lower Straits Lake. They have this, and also down by 13 Mile and East Wall Lake Drive. This will stop a car from going fast. I don't even feel this when I go past it with my car. I mean, I like to see the striping around the village.
Motion to close.
Motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Newman to close. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Close. We have an Eagle Scout Service Project proposal.
You did. Point of order, you didn't vote on the
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry, yeah, sorry, guys. Missed that one. Roll call, thank you. On
O'Brien.
pavement striping.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
Claiborne. Duff.
Yeah.
Jizznicki.
Yes.
Okay, now we're on to F.
Council,
Say that.
no, just as indicated in my memo dated May 9th, we've received a request from Carmine Marshall, who is here tonight with us. He's an Eagle Scout candidate. He lives on Penny Lake Road, and he is proposing a service project that would involve the construction of some community garden beds over on the north side of Dunreath between Ladd and Winghampton, that is in the old Centerwood right-of-way. This is vacant property, it's not used at all. And what Carmine is proposing to do is to build 20-foot long by 4-foot high raised garden beds that can be used by residents in the area for gardening. One correction on my memo, it indicates that there are 3 beds in there. I talked with Carmine yesterday, and he was able to clarify me, we're talking about 6 beds. Again, Carmine is here if you have questions for him, otherwise he can, I suggested to him that he be prepared to give a brief overview of what he wanted to do, and then after that, if council has any questions. As I indicated in my memo, this is the first step in the process for Carmine. If he obtains village approval to use the village property for this project, then he has to get additional approvals within the Scout organization before he can actually start working on the project. So, Carmen, maybe if you could give council just an overview, add anything about what you're planning to do and how you're planning to do it.
So my plan is to build on that empty piece of land by Dunreath, because I've seen it empty for so long and I don't think anything's gonna happen to it in the future, other than if I get permission to build on it. But I'm gonna build like a community garden, so if anyone wants to have a garden there, they can.
I have a question. Yeah, I see in your proposal here that you think it's gonna cost you like around $3,000?
Yeah.
Can you collect enough bottles and cans for $3,000? That's a lot of cans.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you have a
He's
backup
motivated.
plan
He'll do
as to how, I know you're gonna probably, ask for some donations between Menards and stuff too, but if you don't get enough through bottling cans, how else you gonna raise money?
I don't think we have a backup plan. We could probably come up with one if we don't get enough money in time.
Have you talked to anybody around the area at all about it? I'm just curious, like, seeing if they're looking for a community garden in that space, and if they're having issues on their own properties, being able to have gardens.
I haven't really. I just kind of, it came to me when I was thinking about it.
They may be willing to help.
Because we have discussed it in Park and Rec a few times, trying to find.
I think a community
would that
garden's a
be
great idea.
Place to put it.
I think it's a great idea, yeah.
And
So
things like that, so.
You don't care whether it's flowers or probably vegetables, you're thinking more vegetables?
I don't care what they, if somebody wants a garden there, I don't care what they do.
So you want to build the garden, but the residents use it, you're not going
Yeah.
to just use it just yourself or something like that. So it is for everything.
For the residents.
So you're not growing vegetables to give to people, you're letting people use the beds.
For an Eagle project, which is what this for, it needs to benefit the community in some way. So if it was just for me, it wouldn't benefit the community.
Do you have a garden at home? I'm just curious.
We did,
You did?
and our dogs ate them.
Yeah, dog ate my homework, too.
Well, we can come out with a plan to make sure that we're using the right materials and it's not a special land usage issue. And I'm sure the DPW would like to give their 2 cents on it throughout the way to make sure it's okay and that it's done, safely and all of that.
Well, I've talked about this with Ace, is after Carmine had submitted his proposal for us to review, and a couple of the issues that were flagged, number one is, and it's one that I've talked to Carmine and his mother about both, is, number one is the question about watering. I think, if I can speak on behalf of the village, and I guess I can as well as anybody, but I think the DPW and to some extent the beautification committee, I've talked to Julie Miller, who's here also, I think we're supportive of the project, but everybody has a full plate, and I don't think the village is comfortable committing to being the main source of water for the garden over there. I think we will help if we can, as much as we can, but I've encouraged Carmen to think about other alternatives, whether it's reaching out to the neighbors over there to see if they would be willing to let people use their water, or if it's the people that are actually doing the gardening, maybe they'll have to truck the water in themselves to water whatever they plant, so.
I have gotten a suggestion about that, and that's like a water barrel.
A rain barrel?
A rain barrel, yeah. That's
Yeah.
So
That's a
like,
good idea.
They just bring the water can, they can get water there.
A rain collection barrel.
Then one other thing that Andy mentioned to me too is, I mean, the grass that's growing there now is cut, it is maintained by the DPW. That's something that the DPW is going to continue to do. We've got the zero-turn mowers that have a 5-foot radius on them. And what Carmine had proposed as an original plan was a 4-foot setback between the boxes. And Andy pointed out to me that it would be a lot easier for his guys if it was a minimum of 5 feet between the beds, so they could get the riding mowers in. And I talked to Carmine about that yesterday, and he said that's not a problem. I think there's still plenty enough room over there for him to allow that additional setback between the beds, and while still allowing enough room for the DPW to do their stuff too, so.
Andy, would that be an increased maintenance issue? I mean, would that be harder?
Mr. President, I guess one of the other things that came up between Administrator Gilman and I would be that, well, Council had brought it up, if there's what the activity of the people in the community would be in actually doing their planting, but also, I always have to look about things about down the road, and let's say in 2 or 3 or 5 years, if it's, depending on participation, what happens to the areas after that.
Okay.
I mean, we'd hope this would be wildly successful, and maybe there would be gardens and flowers growing over there, as far as we tell, but that may not be the case. So I recognize Andy's concern too, so.
Yeah, okay. That's a hard thing to predict.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, if this is something council is supportive of, yeah, we would need a motion to approve the proposed Eagle Scout service project as submitted by Carmen.
I'd like to make a motion that council support Carmine in his request to use the parcels of land near Dunreath, north of Dunreath for a community garden.
Second.
Motion by Kazmicki, second by Jeremini. Any discussion?
Have you talked to the residents that would be on either side of this? Have you talked to the residents that live on either side of where you're proposing this?
I have not yet.
Okay. So you might want to do that, find out if they're for this.
Be good to, yeah, be good to talk to anyone who's up and down, probably 2 or 3 streets over also. See if there's participation. You might actually get a lot of help too, doing it, making it easier, or even with your fundraising as well, if they're aware of it. So I would definitely gauge the neighbors. And they might have some advice, and they might have just some tools and manual labor to help with, which always helps. I would definitely pursue input from the surrounding area.
Yeah, I think I'll do that now.
I mean, we can amend the motion based on discussing to the neighbors.
Based on approval of the people that live around this plot of land, is that enough?
Yeah, amendment.
Is that good enough amendment?
Yeah. Yep.
This immediate images.
Okay.
So a second. Amended by Kazmicki, and seconded by Jeremini. Any discussion? Roll call. Roll call, please.
McNabb?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Stubb?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Layborn?
Yes.
Kazmicki?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Good luck, Carmen.
Good luck, Colleen. Thank you.
Carmen, I have just one quick question for you. The copy of the proposal that you gave me, is that your original? Do you need that back? Or is this just a copy? You know?
You want to know first, before it gets completely approved, that the neighbors are okay with it? Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding
Yes.
that. So once he gets that, then that one that you have in your hand would need to be signed by whoever the beneficiary would be considered.
Okay. Okay, so, but this is the original
Yes.
proposal, okay. I just want to make sure we don't recycle it or anything like
Right.
that, so, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, Carmen, just keep me posted, okay?
Item G, council chambers sound system upgrade.
Council, we've heard during several of our council meetings that some of the members of the audience have had a hard time hearing what's been set up at the council table. And then above and beyond that, too, I've heard from some of our recording secretaries that at times they've also had problems hearing what's been done here. So I had generally been having some discussions with Ken Milburn at Merge Live about some upgrades to the sound system in the council chambers. Based upon the feedback that we were getting, I specifically met with Ken, and he brought in Third Coast Tech, which is a contractor that he works with. It provides the sound systems that Ken works with on a regular basis. Based upon that and their review of what we have in place, we have a proposal from Third Coast for upgrades at a cost of $18,435.95. That's equipment installed and fully functional. That includes new microphones for the council table and the podium, speakers in the ceiling that'll make it easier for the sound to be broadcast in the back of the council chambers. A couple amplifiers, 2 are necessary because, as I've learned, they've divided the council chamber into 2 zones. And then also a rack to keep the sound equipment in the closet in the back of the council chambers. as opposed to the soundboard that's taking up about half of Vicky's desk over there. So we're recommending the upgrades to the sound system. As I've indicated in the memo, Third Coast, while they were here, they also offered a price on upgrades to the video system, which would allow us to send video directly from one location at the council table to a newer, larger monitor over on the side wall. To be candid, I just don't think that we need that upgrade at this point in time. I'm sure things are only going to get more expensive, but given how infrequently we use the video system here, I just personally can't justify the expense. But I would support the upgrades to the sound system as described in the memo.
Motion to approve the proposal as presented, not to exceed $18,435.95.
Second. Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. Any discussion on that? We have a request to open this item also.
Make motion open to public for discussion.
Second.
Motion by Newman, second by Mr. Duff. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item G is open.
He probably didn't hear.
Yeah. Item G is open.
Can't hear you.
Item G is open.
Can you guys hear this?
Item G is open.
Put your ear right there. I've been telling him for 6 months.
Item G is open
What I'm telling
per
you.
your request.
You're not listening to your citizens. I've been complaining about the damn, also, did you get 3 bids for this thing?
Mr. Laborn, if you want to address, if you could step to the podium,
Dave
please.
Labor, 4335 Shaken. It's kind of madly coming here, and you can't hear what the heck is going on, okay? As a matter of fact, I was listening to this program other days through the TV. Anyhow, did you get 3 bids for this thing?
We did not, no.
Barbie?
We did not, no.
Get 3 bids. That sounds awful high to me.
Motion to close.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Item G is closed to the public now. We've had a motion and a second. So can we have a roll call, please?
I just had a question.
Okay, sorry.
Discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
How old is the system now? Do we know? Just curious, like, is it 20, 30, 15?
It's from the 90s, I believe.
It's like, did we get our bang
Original
for our
parts
buck
are
with
from
the
the
last
90s,
system,
what I
right?
was
Like,
under the understanding of.
Just curious. How long will the new system potentially service the community? It's hard to tell, right?
Yeah.
But like, how long have we had this system? Maybe 30 years?
Yeah, something like that.
And if it's as old as the council table that we replaced, the council table was roughly 30 years old.
Okay.
So,
So if you spread this cost over 20 years to be average, maybe?
I mean, I can find out from Third Coast what the life expectancy is, if you want.
I was just
but
curious.
I guess the question is, I mean, do we need the upgrade now? And it sounds like we do.
That sounds like we do.
Yeah.
That sounds like we do. Yeah. Favorable, yes, we need it.
No, I'm not
So,
either.
any other discussion?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it might make sense to get another quote. I mean, we know Merge Live, I think they've done a really nice job for us and we trust their work, but I think it just makes sense to just maybe ballpark if we're in the right figure to move forward. In my mind, not a bad idea.
It's up to council.
Now we would need a amendment to a motion.
Well, we could withdraw the motion. You
Withdraw.
could table till next month and allow me to contact Third Coast.
We've gone this long, what's one more month? I'm in agreement with Karen. I think that was a good point that Mr. Labor suggested. We just have to make sure that it's gonna work with the equipment that is currently being used to videotape. That's all.
So I guess we're at, we do have a motion and a second on it, so it's either we can vote on that, and depending on what happens with that, or we can withdraw a motion.
Vote it down and
Right.
proceed with the motion, vote it down.
So, we're going to proceed with the motion in the second, and so we're going to have a roll call. Please.
Newman?
No.
Laybourne? No. Kaznicki?
No.
Jeremani?
No.
O'Brien?
No.
Duff?
Nope.
McNutt?
Nope. Okay, so that doesn't go through. So
So much cleaner than withdrawing.
Make a motion, we table this until next month, and give the administration time to gain a total of 3 quotes.
Second.
We have a motion by Newman, second by Duff. Any discussion on that? Let's have a roll call on that, please.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Laybourne? Yes. Kaznicki?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Okay, I'll report back next month.
Thank you. H, it's the second reading and adoption of ordinance 84A-2. And that's an ordinance to amend Chapter 208, purchase and sale of personal property of Title II, General Provisions of Part 2, Administration Code of the Code of Ordinance for the Village of Wolverine Lake by replacing Section 208.13, sale of property, and placing it with a new Section 208.13, sale and disposal of property, in order to modify the personal property sales procedures for Village of Wolverine Lake property.
Motion to accept the second reading and the adoption of ordinance 84A-2 as presented.
Second.
A motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussions on that? Let's have a roll call, please.
Newman?
Yes.
Laybourne? Yes. Kaznicki?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes. Now, of introduction and first reading of ordinance 106A-127, and it's an ordinance to amend section 1252.03, special land uses of chapter 1252, RM-1, multifamily residential district of Title IV, zoning of Part 12, and zoning and planning code of the Code of Ordinance for the Village of Wolverine Lake by adding a new subsection D to allow childcare daycare centers as subordinate uses to houses of worship in the RM-1 zoning districts in the Village of Wolverine Lake.
Motion to introduce and accept the first reading of ordinance 106A-127 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Let's have a roll call on that.
But can I?
Oh, discussion, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
since she stayed here all this time, Laura, is there anything you want to add or talk about or suggest why? I mean, you've been so patient.
I'm just determined to get this through. I started this process last August, and I'm gonna make it happen. I'm a behavior analyst. I work with children who have autism, and my goal is to provide upper elementary, middle school age services. There's a lot of early education in the area, but there's not for those older kids. So I was hooked up with the
Shepherd of the Lakes.
Thank you. Shepherd of the Lakes, and we were able to find, do you need me to go to the thing? Sorry. We were able to find a place to work with each other, because they're trying to do a special needs outreach as well. So, working with the zoning committee, getting this through the process. So, it will not be a daycare, it will not be a child care center initially. What I do is considered medical, but we will follow all the laws of the child care rules.
And the zoning ordinance amendment is, as Laura has indicated, the first step in the process. And then, as this is going through the process and hopefully being approved, she'll begin the special use approval process through the Planning Commission. And they're actually going to be starting that discussion later this month, at their meeting this month.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? A roll call, please.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Laybourne? Yes. Duff?
Yes.
Kiznicki?
Yes.
J, set topics for the May 28, 2025 work session. I think it's our budget.
This will be our budget work session, that's correct. Be 2 weeks from tonight, starting at 7 PM. Jennifer Hansen is not here with us tonight. She is up in Mount Pleasant at the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Association Advanced Training Institute. She'll be back in the office next week. But what I've discussed with her is having a working draft of the budget to council for review by a week from Friday. That is the Friday before the Memorial Day weekend, the Friday before the work session the following Wednesday, so you can take a look at it and be ready for discussion on that Wednesday night.
Okay. On to K. Mr. Gillen, requests that we move to closed session for agenda item 19.
Again, for the two purposes that I stated before, number one was to discuss attorney-client privilege communications, and the second to discuss the purchase of real estate. We need a roll call vote, please.
Did we actually take a motion on the work session setting?
I don't know if there was, to be honest, no.
I'll make a motion that we set the work session for the 28th,
Let's go back to
7 PM.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremini. So roll call.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Laybourne? Yes. Kiznicki?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Now we need a motion for K.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session per the administrator's request.
For the reasons stated.
For the reasons stated, yes.
Thank you.
As presented.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. No discussions on that. Roll call, please.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Laybourne? Yes. Kiznicki?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
L, Farmers Market Coordinator.
Council, you previously approved the operation of a farmer's market over in Clear Miller Park. That is scheduled to start Tuesdays after the 1st of June. Mark Jeremini has been the point person for the Parks and Rec Committee on this. And I acknowledge all the work that he's done on this to this point in terms of drafting rules and applications and things like that, and getting a little bit of input from me, but he's been doing the bulk of the work by himself. The application and rules that we've developed do make specific reference to a farmer's market coordinator. I think logically it makes sense for Mark in his role as a council liaison to the Parks and Recreation Committee, and the one who has been up to his elbows in the farmer's market at this point and probably will be in further deep going forward, for him to be the farmer's market coordinator. So it's my recommendation that the council formally designate Mr. Jeremini as the market coordinator for the village's farmer's market.
I would make a motion that we designate Mark Jeremini as the farmer market coordinator.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Brian. Let's have a roll call, please.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Jeremini?
I abstain.
Laybourne? Yes. Duff?
Yes.
Kiznicki?
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Another feather in your cap?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody better. All right, 13, pending business. Penny Lake Pump House water quality.
Council, the first item of pending business we have tonight, last month, we received information, and there was discussion at the council table about the amount of iron that was found in a resident's home over on Penny Lake Drive. Based upon that discussion, council had directed Mr. Stone, the leader in our Department of Public Works, to basically do some homework to find out what options the village had in terms of trying to reduce the amount of lead in the water system over there. Iron, I'm sorry, I always. It's iron, yeah. Must be thinking Flint or something. I don't know. The amount of iron in the system. Andy has put together a report that you have in your packet. I don't know if he has anything he wants to add to what's in the report, or if council has any questions for him. There are several options that are laid out in there for the reasons discussed. Most of them don't seem to make any sense. If there is an interest in doing something different over there with the Penny Lake Pump House, the one that would seem to make the most sense to us in terms of looking into further would be connecting the houses on Penny Lake Drive to city water through the city of Walled Lake via the line that runs along South Commerce Drive. But again, that's something we need to discuss. So,
Everybody have any questions council may have?
Hey, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Just a couple of things, Andy. When you say the cleaning was performed in March of this year with an average amount of iron deposit removed, what does that mean? Like, how much is an average amount to you? Like, is it?
Well, actually, I asked that to the guys that were actually cleaning the tanks for a community well system of that size. They said it was not extraordinary nor deficient. It was just pretty much what they normally see over in a 3,500 gallon tank over a 4-year period.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough to where they can actually just take a hose and rinse it out a 3-inch port. So it's not like they're shoveling tons of iron out of the tank. Correct. I guess maybe so the community has a little bit more knowledge of what's inside. What I tried to research a little bit is that the major obstacles is that if you were trying to, there's 2 ways of getting rid of iron out of a community well system. It's either filtration or chemical sequestering. Both of those they collect the iron before the water goes into distribution, but just as you would with a household water softener, those have to have a place for the iron to go to. So whether you fluff the filters up and you have to get rid of the media, the fluffing the media and getting rid of the iron residue. Typically, the way to do that would be to put it into a sewer system. No, we don't have that available on Penny Lake Drive there, at least at this point in time. That would be one major hurdle that we have. There are ways that you could put it into a giant container and kind of de-water it, and then you'd have to remove the byproducts of filtering the iron out of the water, whether it be put into another large container. Then it'd have to be shipped out to a certified area by certified haulers. That's a huge issue. The other issue is that by filtering or chemically, it takes a much larger license than what I hold through the state of Michigan. I have an S4, which is basically your entry-level operator's license through that. You're becoming a chemist and it's a full-time job to operate the filter and the chemical treatments. It's daily, 24/7. Most likely, I may overspeak in that, but it's definitely, after being here for 35 years, I'm not looking to get a chemical degree in water circulations right now. This goes way, and it's a very difficult license to get. We don't have anybody here right now. I would not be capable of it. I think Mike Powell would be, there's so much algebra involved with it. I'm sure he could do it if he studied for it, but even the capabilities of somebody as smart as Mike.
I'd rather go on a cruise.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we don't have, so to find somebody to be certified to operate a system like this, it's kind of going outside the wheelhouse of the Village of Wolverine Lake for 122 service connections. You're really looking way outside the box. That would be where I go to saying if the water in that community was so obtuse to the majority of the residents in that, which I really haven't found that. Everybody has iron problems. We're in Michigan. One of the companies I looked at was also in Minnesota. They're extremely similar geographically. They have a lot of the different properties, lakes, iron contents, as we're pulling water out of the ground untreated into a tank and pumping it right back out to the people. This is what we have. This is what God gave us in Michigan and in this Great Lakes area. It's what we have. The company that I spoke to in Minnesota basically said that they'd say it's really should be, it's exorbitant to try and figure out how to do that from the pump house. I'm talking, you'd have to double the size of the pump house. You're talking new roofs, the filtration system you're looking at the size of your council chambers here. So the feasibility of doing something like that is really just over the top, I think, for the village. And that's where I was kind of, as Dave mentioned, to go to it, if you're looking at, if there was that large of an issue, it would really be looking at tapping into Detroit City Water, which is right under the other side of South Commerce Road. Not to mention, I did also give the chemical reports to council that I do yearly for that water system, and actually everything came out extremely satisfactory. I'll kind of leave it at that unless council has some other questions.
I just have one question kind of related to that. There's, had some discussions and both kind of expressed concerns about the pressure of that too, for the system. I mean, all that obviously have an effect on the pressure to the houses also? Is that not true?
Well, see this, okay, I got to figure out how to answer this. So as I mentioned, the community well house runs exactly the same as a private well would. So once the pressure goes down to 40 PSI, the pumps turn on and pump it back up to around 70 PSI. And so there's always going to be that fluctuation inside there. The other factor that we do have that comes into the maintenance side of is the iron that we do have can collect into the inside of the copper, 3/4 inch copper service lines. There comes the maintenance of what we call purging the service lines out. There's two methods that I can clean the service lines to the people. I usually recommend, every house is a little different, 2 to 3, maybe even 5 years, where you have your regular maintenance done on that to make sure that, and what's happening is that.
I'll make a motion to open.
Second.
Motion, second by Labor to open. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I think I know where you're going with this. There's two
Water
methods.
pressure is what I have. Mostly, we have a lot of rust, but we have a double filtering system, which helps quite a bit. But, my thing is water pressure, and I know one of the neighbors around the block, so she can't even get hers is so bad, she can't even get her sprinklers to go back, or sprinklers to go back and forth. So is there another way to clean out something besides you doing your?
There's two methods of purging the water lines. One's by using air pressure inside the home to push the water back out, let the water come, as you shut the water pressure off, the water comes back to the house, so it's a scrubbing motion back and forth.
So that's different than when you come out?
And then there's another one where you can use the curb valve in the front yard where you turn that on and off repetitively, and it causes a water hammering.
Okay, do you do the first one? Can you do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Right. But there also can be other factors inside that. Some of the houses, what I'm cleaning is the service line from where it first comes into the house to the water main. Now, usually after that, and I go through this with my customers as I'm servicing the maintenance to them, as there's a process to look at after I do that, because I'm not cleaning anything inside the house. And I feel like some people may have, after 65 years, they may have buildup on the interior pipes of the house, which would be a whole nother scenario than me cleaning the service line. So that's what we're talking about, again, is the volume and not pressure. We have 70 pounds still coming to the house.
It's just odd how some people don't have any, with the pressure don't have any problem at all, and then other people, when they can't even get their sprinkler. and then-
That's where we would find an isolated situation to inside the home and not necessarily the line that's coming into the home. If I know that line coming into the home is clear, then we need to look at something else inside the house. There could be some restrictions inside the piping inside the house.
That's something we can look at.
I can try and help people and guide them a little bit. I've had great water at some people's houses, and I'm like, and they still say, this is terrible. And mechanically, as the person was, they cut the pipe open, the main 3/4 inch line, and it was down to the size of a pencil inside his 3/4 inch line, which I was not working on that. That was all inside the house. So once he replaced that main 3/4 inch line, he's been fantastic. So I can try and help guide people like that. After the service line is what I'm maintaining, but then I'd have to say, I could try and help the community, part of my job to do that, but, you'd have to kind of refer to, I can guide you a little bit, but probably have to go to a plumber at that point. Any other questions, council?
I just had a question. Do we know what would that entail if we said, let's look at Detroit City Water? I mean, what does the cost look like? Is that a village cost? Is that a resident cost?
That would be
shared
specially
cost?
assessed against the
Do we know what
homeowners.
that would, do we have any idea what that looks like?
Mike, do you have a ballpark figure on that?
No, we do have a water line that runs down the south side of Wolverine Drive there, but I'd have to work with Andy to find out the capacity of that line. It's probably only a 6-inch line that would then serve all the residents back in there.
8-inch.
It's an 8-inch, so it's an 8-inch line. That is very good news. So it would just be a matter of the geometrics as to how to hook it into the Walled Lake system. None of you were here, I don't think, during that time, but we did that for the Helmsford system. That was a well house that we changed over to a public water supply through the city of Detroit. And the people found they didn't need water softeners anymore, and it was an extremely proactive way to solve a problem.
Then when you switch over to city water, though, you're trading your fixed monthly maintenance payment to the village for a fee to the Water Resource Commissioner based upon the amount of water that you actually consume.
Yeah, you've actually increased the project, not only connecting into the water, but now every home has to have a meter installed. So we had a special assessment district where we had a plumber go in and actually install a meter in every home that was now going to be serviced by that public water.
have to shut it down because the previous owner didn't have.
No set fee, it's based upon how much water you use.
Shut the main off as soon as you turn it back.
Does that have to be unanimous? If something like that were to be considered, is that unanimous for?
No, it
how
would be
does
the
that-
same as any other special assessment district. It would have to be approved by council. Typically, the special assessment districts that we've had during the period of time that I've been here, and I would defer to people that have been here longer than me, but they've been for purposes of connecting to the sewer. And we have not forced anyone to participate in a special assessment district if they didn't want to.
So I guess what maybe Aaron is alluding to, so House A could decide to go with Detroit Water. House B says, I'm fine, I'm cool with the way it is.
No, it would not, that option
That's
would
what
not
I'm
be
trying to
available.
figure out. So it has to be all or nothing?
All or nothing for this
All right.
option.
Isn't that what you're trying to get at now?
Right.
I guess the point I was trying to make, it doesn't have to be unanimous. If the council decides to go ahead and move forward with the special assessment district to connect to city water, if a resident is opposed, it's the vote of the council. They may still be opposed, but they may be forced to connect to city water if council decides that's the direction that it wants to go.
Dave is alluding to two different special assessment districts here in the village. When we've extended sanitary sewers, it's 51% of the people can force 49% of the people to participate. So that's the negative side, so you have people that are forced into it. Dave's used to the voluntary SAD that is used for connections to the sanitary sewer. Then it's totally voluntary, and every other, it depends on whether they want to connect or not. In this particular one, 49% of the people, in theory, could be forced to have city water and have their meter installed. Politically, if you had 99% of the people that wanted it, then it's a no-brainer politically. If you have 51% of the people that want it and 49%, now you got 49% of the people mad at you. So that's the balance that council has to decide.
And they dealt with that when they put the sewer on Oak Island.
That's how we got it on the
'Cause
island.
it was a very
Correct.
tight
Correct.
vote there.
And just maybe, so council, I mean, I have not heard a lot of people screaming for city water over there. So I don't want the people to hear this either and say, oh, they're gonna stuff it down our throat. I don't think that's really what you guys are getting at. This is just
No, just
open discussion here
Right.
about somebody that had brought up, that, you know, they thought it would be easier for the village to filter our water than it would be for them to filter theirs. And, you know, for the majority of the community there. So,
And we're just trying to cover all the options.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Now,
Yeah.
Andy, I really thank you for all the effort that you put into this. I mean, just reading all this stuff, I was blown away. I mean, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you.
Andy, if you were to increase the number of times you did hydrant flushing, would that make any difference?
I don't think so. I mean, we've got April, July, and October. It's pretty extensive right now. I mean, I could give you more information if you want to know how many gallons and usually typically the areas that I flush, I mean, I'd have to give that a little bit more thought. A lot of the interior lines on the cross streets, they come out crystal clear in the time frames that I do them. As I try running and flushing out like say down Penny Lake Drive, most of those water feeds, if you can think about how a house would be plumbed, you got the main trunk coming down Penny Lake Drive going to Wolverine Drive, and then you got these feeder lines that kind of feed off of that. And so the main source of the water comes down Penny Lake and Wolverine. The side streets, iron cleans up pretty nicely through there. As I gave it a little bit more exponential after we had the tank cleaned this March. We cleaned that out and was flushing some of down the Penny Lake area a little bit longer, trying to clean things up a little bit better, and I thought it was going good. I thought things were looking fine. So I don't think more hydrant flushing would really be the answer.
Okay. I know it's be pretty impossible in the winter anyways, I mean, having that much water on frozen surfaces and stuff.
Yeah, so usually in the April, it's a little bit longer flush. That's the longest time frame between October and April that the water sits in there. So it's a little bit longer flush. As I move into it in July, it goes quick. I can reduce it by probably 150, 200,000 gallons in the flushing repetition. October is probably about the same as July. So it's just that area between October and April. April's a little bit longer flushing, where I can go 350,000 gallons in a flushing cycle, as opposed to 250. Anything else, council?
Public.
Yeah, as we said, we're still open, so any other questions?
Yeah, I have, Andy, there is no way to hook up multiple large filters that a house would have? I mean,
No, again, that goes into a filtration license.
Okay, so we hire,
And the iron that filter collects, it's not like you can remove it and throw it away and put a new one in.
but couldn't we hire, let's say, I'm just gonna use an example, Aqualite, put them on a service contract, or some other, Connecticut, or some other plumbing company that would actually install that filtration system. And then they're now on a service contract because you have too much to do already. Wouldn't expect this to go on your plate. So why couldn't something like that be done? Have that plumbed in?
Well,
and then have them take care of getting rid of whatever material that needs to be taken care of. Is that a possibility?
There is 2 other companies that, as I mentioned in the report, speaking with White Lake Water Supervisor over there, there's two companies that they've done, their filtration companies in the area. Again, that would be, what I found is I think the village will wind up, I could contact them, see if they want to do a feasibility study. Craig, you know, I don't even know how much that would cost. There is what's called like a mobile filtration plant that they moved, that they can move around to section to see as you can do a case study and see. That's $23,000 for 1 week with their operators, since we don't have any certified operators. $10,000 a week thereafter. So it's a pretty expensive experiment.
Yeah, we were just gonna spend 18 grand on microphones. So, you know, if we're gonna spend 18 grand on microphones and speakers, why not spend $23,000 and give our residents clean water, or at least the ability to have a plan to have clean water?
Well, that would just be a case study. That wouldn't even be a good water.
But it's a
That's just
starting
saying if we can filter it.
Right, but it's a starting point. So I have talked to some of the neighbors since I was the one that brought this to the attention.
I'm sorry, do you want to introduce yourself and go back? I think.
Please.
Yeah, I think that's the rules that, you know.
Do you want my name and address?
Sure.
Craig Minnelletti, 1641 Del Monte, Wolverine Lake. So I have talked to some of the people in that neighborhood, and they don't want to be the one complaining, but they're happy that someone is bringing it to the attention, because nobody is happy with the water in that neighborhood. If you go down into that neighborhood, you see brown streaks down people's houses. Nobody has good water over there. I just think people think this just is what it is. But if we give them the ability that maybe there's a filtration system that we can add, and let's say it takes their bill from, I think the bill's $65 a month, is that right, Dave, somewhere in that general area?
Maintenance fee.
Something like that. Okay, let's say it goes to $85 a month. For an extra $20 a month, if I don't need to see a bunch of gunk in the toilets, or your dishwasher isn't all brown, or your washing machine, I think if it's presented that way to the residents, that for $240, potentially more a year, look how much better of water you're getting. It's still cheaper than Detroit City Water. I don't want to hook up Detroit City Water, because that's going to cost each person probably in the neighborhood of, I'd say 15 grand plus. So that's never going to sell to these folks.
And our bill comes every 3 months, so it's that $63 and.
Yeah, so let's say it goes up, yeah, so let's say it's 20
So
bucks.
that's for 3 months.
Let's say it's 80 bucks a year. Let's say it's 100 bucks a year. For 100 bucks a year, if I could get you better water, would you be happy with that? There you go. You have your little case study right there. I assume you live in that neighborhood? Okay, so there's somebody right there that lives in the neighborhood for maybe 100 bucks more a month or a year. She'd be thrilled to have better water. I think we need to look at it. I mean, if we're gonna spend 18 grand on microphones, which I sit on the ZBA board, there's nothing wrong with these microphones. People, I'm sitting back there, I hear you guys just fine. If you want to spend 18 grand on microphones and speakers, that's up to you. But I was sitting back there and I hear you just fine. If somebody can't hear well, sit closer to a speaker. We don't need to spend 18 grand on microphones. But I just think, we just need to look at this, and if you're saying White Lake has some type of program, well, let's see what they have. Now, I haven't seen anything that you presented, so I don't know what you've done. I heard you've done a lot, and I greatly appreciate you doing that.
Craig, I
really
sent you
do.
the report on Friday, so.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh, I apologize, I didn't
Yes.
I didn't see
Yep,
it.
I sent you the
So I will
report
look
on
at it
Friday.
tomorrow, I apologize.
Yes.
So if we could just maybe talk to White Lake and see, what filtration systems they're using, and then what company they're using, maybe that's a solution. I don't expect you or Mr. Powell to do this. I mean, there's an outside company that we could hire, and that's their job, to service this.
Yeah, you've got Peerless Midwest and HESCO are a couple of the filtration companies. I don't know if they want to, and as I mentioned in my report, if council would want me to contact them, I can have one of the representatives come out and say, what do you guys think?
Sure.
And see what they come back with, is this something plausible?
Yeah, maybe they have an idea that we're not thinking.
The way you're thinking is that this is just an 8-inch water main inside of a home house that you can just slap a paper filter into
Nope.
and pull it out every day.
No, oh no, I'm
I
not
don't think
thinking
it's
that at
gonna
all.
be like
I think it's something that's a little bit more detailed than that. But if I can't imagine other villages and other townships in Michigan don't have something in place that can provide a better service to our residents. I mean, $250 a year, and for the water that I presented to the village, I guarantee you, there's not one person up here that would have taken a glass of that water and drank it.
Hey, Craig, I'm going to interrupt really quick. Andy, is that something that you can do, is contact one of those companies and just have them out and say, hey,
I could try and open a door up on them and say, and the first contact would be that if I have you guys come out and let's, make an introduction to each other, do a handshake and say, what would you guys charge me to do a feasibility on this? And that's where that would hold back, and I'd come back to council and say, hey, if they can do it for free, they want $5,000. Or, or they're gonna say, or they're gonna look at me and say, we don't wanna deal with you guys. It could be any of those. So, I mean, I'd be happy to make a phone call to both these companies and say, come look at our system. Give me, we'll probably do some water sampling and testing, what is the chemical testing that I kind of provided to you guys. Everything says excellent, but we do have, there's some iron, that's what we live with in Michigan. And
where's council on that?
Yeah, I think we could proceed with a feasibility.
I can't imagine a company wouldn't at least want to have a conversation. I mean, just, it's revenue. Why would they not at least want to have a conversation to say, well, what is it you'd like us to do? It's a
good place to start.
And this is our
I
cost
think it's a
process.
place to start.
That's a good place to
And then
start.
be able to negotiate with them up front to say, if this is a $75,000 or $100,000 upgrade, you can't give us a free feasibility study? I think it's definitely worth a phone call.
Okay.
And if I can help you, let me know. If they need a house to sample water, my house is open.
No, I'm seeing
All right, so.
Again, I appreciate all your work. Thank you, Andy. Council, thank you for your time.
And just to make clear on the front end, if there is a decision at some point for council to move forward with some kind of filtration system over there or something like that, it would ultimately be council's decision as to how to fund anything that's going on over there. But my recommendation would be that any improvements be funded by way of a special assessment against the property owners over in that. To be perfectly candid, as a property owner on the northeast corner of the village, I don't want my tax dollars being spent to improve the water quality over on the south end of the village.
Motion to close.
Motion by Duff to close.
Second.
Second by Kaznecki. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
I'd like to make a motion that Andy proceed in terms of contacting the two different water filtration companies and try to figure out whether or not they could do a feasibility study for us.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremini, for Andy to do the studies. So we have a motion, a second, for you to do the studies, to get the companies out to see if they can. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
So roll call on that, please.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Nutt,
Yes.
Jeremini,
Yes.
Claiborne. Yes. Duff,
Yes.
Kiznicki.
Yes.
All right. Lead us to B, our Ventura Drive parking concerns and TIA recommendations.
Council, at last month's meeting, you discussed the report that we had received from Chuck Keller over at the Transportation Improvement Association. And after that discussion, then council directed me to reach out to property owners in the area to determine the level of interest in having a special meeting to discuss the recommendations that the village had received further. Based upon that direction, I contacted 30 property owners in that area. The reason for contacting 30 is because one of the recommendations from Mr. Keller was to expand the area that parking is prohibited in over in that area. And based upon my review, it seemed reasonable to conclude that if that recommendation was followed and the expanded parking area was put in place, that it would not only be the property owners on Ventura, but potentially some of the property owners on Solano that would also be affected. That's why they were also notified. And as I indicated, a total of 30 residents were contacted. I included in the packet essentially the format, the sample that we sent to all the individuals, laying out verbatim the recommendations that we received from the TIA, asking them to contact the village either by phone or by my email address to advise if they were interested in having a meeting to discuss the issue further. As indicated in my memo, out of the 30 property owners, in roughly, the letter was dated April 24th, it went out on April 25th. I gave the property owners until May 7th to contact the village, so roughly just short of 2 weeks to contact the village, 10 days, 2 weeks. Out of the 30, we had 3 telephone calls from residents indicated they were interested in a meeting. We had 7 email responses. 4 indicated that they did want to have a meeting. The other 3 did not support a meeting. So that's the feedback that we've gotten. Where we go from here is up to council to decide.
So I guess we do need, does council want a meeting regarding that?
I think that's the correct way to proceed, Mr. President. I'd make a motion that we set a special meeting to discuss the Ventura Drive parking concerns.
We have a motion by Duff.
Second.
Second by Giannini. Any discussion? No discussion? Roll call, please.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Claiborne? Yes. Duff?
Yes.
Kiznicki?
Yes.
Who's going to set that date?
Do we know when we want the special meeting to be?
We have our work session for May.
May 28th. That will be a full evening.
Right.
Just talking about the budget.
June work session.
I think we could probably fit it in for the May 28th one, right?
I wouldn't recommend it.
No?
We're talking about, that's going to be our intention would be, as in prior years, to go line by line through the proposed budget. Again, it's council's decision, but I think that'll be a full agenda as it is.
So next work
What about
session
the
will be
June
25th, right?
council meeting?
Well, the motion that's been passed is for a special
For a
meeting.
special meeting. So,
June 4th open. Because we might have to use June 25th if we don't, depending on what we cover on the 11th. The 4th is available. Chambers open.
work session on the 25th. That's everybody's consensus, nobody speak at once.
Make a motion, we schedule the special meeting for June 4th at 7 PM.
I'll second that.
Motion by Duff, second. Motion by Newman, second by Duff, for set the meeting on June 4th, 2025 at 7 PM. Any discussion on that? Let's have a roll call, please. Thank you.
Jeremini?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Kiznicki?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Labor? Yes.
Does council want me to notify the same 30 residences of the special meeting, or fewer residents, more residents?
I think
Many
the same.
residents as possible.
Yeah.
Notify all of them.
The same. Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
And Cabot and Page.
Yeah, so we will mail a written notice to all the same list of property owners that we did, requesting input on the meeting question in the first place. Okay.
How quickly is C going to be? Because we're up against the time.
So you should be quick. I have one other question regarding the special meeting on the 4th. We had talked at one point about the possibility of allowing the public to participate remotely, setting it up as a Zoom meeting or a Zoom option. Is that something the council wants to do, or do we want to do it the old-fashioned way, so to speak? All of you have to be here. Zoom is not an option, so all of you have to be here, so.
Has there been a request for Zoom? I know we
No.
talked about it, but has there been any
No. Well,
specific request?
No.
I think in person would be, it's a better way. So I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think in person would be less confusion.
I mean, the other thing we can do is the notice that we send out to the 30 residents, we can indicate if they are unable to attend or they don't want to attend, they could submit comments in writing
Perfect.
by a certain date.
Perfect.
And we'll make those part of the record of the special meeting.
Perfect. So in person.
Okay. I think that's everything I need to know to get that going. Thank you, Council.
C, council committee assignments. Let's go through this one so we can.
Council, you'd formed a subcommittee back in April to discuss a potential policy regarding future council committee assignments. The committee it's Mayor Pro Tem, President Pro Tem Duff, Member Giramini, Member Newman. We met after the regular council meeting on April 9th. After some discussion, the unanimous recommendation from the committee is laid out in my memo dated May 9th, that going forward, we establish essentially term limits on the council committee assignments. When any new council is seated in December and council assignments are made, say for example, in 2026, which is the next time a new council will be seated here, appointments will be made, that those appointments would be for the term of that council for a period of 2 years. And then at the end of those 2 years, then all the committee members, the council assignments, would have to rotate to someone else. With the one exception of the negotiating committee, the subcommittee felt that there was a benefit in terms of at least allowing for whether or not there would be carryover or not, but at least allowing the possibility for carryover. So some or all of the members of the negotiating committee could, number one, have some familiarity with the collective bargaining process and wouldn't have to start from square one. And then number two, would have firsthand working knowledge of what the negotiation history had been the last time around. So that's the recommendation from the subcommittee. The proposed policy is laid out in my memo. Where we go now is up to you.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the memorandum or the proposal for council assignments as presented.
Second. Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. Any discussion on that?
Yes. I have 5 items I'd like to point out, or I would like to comment on. I agree that a yes on all positions should be repealed or let me cut, looked at every 2 years. I am not in favor of term limitations at all. I think that there are some people that are just outstanding in their field and on the committees that they're in, and to kick them off to put someone new in there is a disservice to the village, to the residents. Like Mark, for instance, the amount of time that he puts in to Parks and Rec, I don't think there's one other person on this board that would be willing to put in the time and the energy that he has done. So to say that he can only do that for 2 years, I think is a mistake. So I would not recommend that. I am more in favor of the number of committees that a council person can be on. And when I look at the committees, I see like 7 major committees and 6 minor committees. You know, the major ones being, admin, finance, negotiating, planning, Park and Rec, et cetera. The minor ones are more like beautification, Veterans Memorial, Gypsy Moth, Pathway. Minor amounts that has to be done with things. So, I'd like to see a more fair representation of the amount of people that are on the committees versus 2 or 3 people being on the majority of the committees. That's how I see it. There was discussion that maybe the president would be chosen in December. I thought that was a really good idea. So he would kind of be ready and set the motion for the January meeting when the other positions would be ratified or discussed. There was also discussion that there would be some information, like maybe a half a page or whatever, of what the responsibilities of that committee is or are. So people who might want to volunteer for that understand the scope, you know. So I don't agree with as it stands.
Pam, as to the last point, the information, if you will, or the detail about, I mean, I did include it in the memo. That's something that I think that we, the staff, would take to under two regardless. I mean, we can provide everyone with more information on the front end as to generally what the committees do and what's involved. So we'll do that regardless of what policy, if any, council puts in place. We'll have that information for new council members before the assignments are made.
I think
I would say I agree with a lot of what Pam just said, if not all of it. And I also had a question as far as if we were to move forward with this motion as is, can we as a council, can we make an elected official be on a subcommittee? If Mark is on, we're gonna pick on Mark again. Mark's on Parks and Rec right now. Come next election, he is now gonna be off. No one's raising their hand to take that position, knowing the time commitment that that liaison role would require. Are we then making a council member take on that role? Essentially.
Isn't that the function of the council?
To demand someone to be on it?
As a
Yeah, your
liaison?
responsibility is to serve on the boards as
To
liaison.
serve on council. I don't
serve
know that
on
we can
As
make
liaison,
someone
you're also
serve
supposed to serve as liaison.
as an elected official. Is that written, where is that?
Now, some positions just doesn't make sense. For me to be on a finance committee, when that's what Bill did his whole career, would be a huge mistake. You know, I'm not a finance person. Bill is. So it only makes sense. And why should Bill, if he enjoys it, that you like that committee, why should you be forced to go out after 2 years? I don't think that makes sense at all. I think you want to look at them. I think all the positions can be open if there's a new person who would like to be on it, so there's not one person that's on it forever. But if that person is good at it and they want to continue, why force them off?
Well, you look at having 2-year term limits and turning it over every single time too, that's gonna require more participation from everyone. So it can also stop an issue where some people might not jump to the gun to be able to ask to be on a board, fast enough too, and some motions are made. Then you can stop that person from just inherently holding that seat forever in perpetuity. So
No,
it gives
I'm saying
opportunity.
that you would look at each position every 2 years, but you're not forcing people to leave after 2 years, is what I'm saying.
So all roles are vacant. We might know who the prior liaison was. If they want to continue, that's great, but if there's someone else that wants to take that on, then we hear both sides.
Yes.
It should be a discussion. It shouldn't just be a grandfathered position because someone's been in that role prior to. So I don't support the term limit.
So it sounds like essentially, I mean, just that it's sort of going back to how it kind of was, but just a different format to give people a more comfort level to speak up at the time.
No, it's not exactly back to the way it was, Mike, in my opinion. I'd like that Aaron and I were saying that, okay, whenever there's an election, and so it would be every 2 years, all those positions are looked at. So every position has the opportunity to be open. Like, just because you're on a committee before doesn't give you that right to continue on that committee where this is the way it has been. So I would change that. I don't think that's right.
Well, I mean, at the time of the board assignments, the positions are open.
No, they're
No,
not.
they weren't.
No, they weren't. Aaron wanted to be on zoning, and Mark said, no, I like it, I'm staying. He never even gave her the opportunity to be on it, so I'm saying, no, it's not the same.
Well, this would remedy that situation.
I think they're open for discussion. They're not grandfathered
And
in.
then we went through the list and we skipped over a handful of them because there were already members that were currently on council in those
Yes.
roles.
Yeah, that was a motion that was made by Bill regarding that. If everybody was in favor of people currently in positions, if they're okay, if council is okay with them staying in those positions. So that was a motion that was made by Bill at that time. And it was approved at that time. So it was at that council, that moment that occurred. So the opportunity, yes, it's there, but I do see your point about the other board. I forgot which board was the one that Mark was on.
The zoning board
The zoning
was the
board, thank
issue.
you, zoning board
Yeah.
was the issue, yeah. So I do see that, so having everything open and the opportunity for it to be filled, I can agree with. Just kind of changing of how things were done. So we have the motion, any more discussion?
I think having looked at it more and listening to other members here today, the term limit is more severe. It's too severe for the solution that we need, I think. And would, instead of, it would make sure that everybody's got an opportunity, but it would also, as Pam said, pull people from committees they want to be on. And as Aaron specified, force people potentially on committees or boards that they either really don't have the time for, or the schedule, or the interest. And so then you're putting a fish out of water kind of thing in certain situations. Are we enhancing that committee, or are we enhancing that board, or are we slowing down their progress because every 2 years it's a new member who may be great for it, but maybe not, as opposed to having an opportunity for, there's no dibs, and if two people put their names into the basket for it, they can make their case, and then council as a body can then make that decision.
I follow up on that. So adding the idea of, having a term limit is the more severe way to handle it. But if we just vacate all the positions, except for the negotiating committee, and then it's just gonna be the first person to make a motion. We didn't fix anything. Because that person can make a motion to go right back into that seat.
Well, as I said, this is where you would have people submitting like themselves for it. They could do it potentially ahead of time, in fact.
Right.
If we have a write-up already in place describing all of the board rules, then every member can come into the meeting and say, these are the boards I'm interested in, so that we all know, even beforehand potentially, who's interested in what. Because, for example, then, you took on planning, and then we find out that Mark doesn't want to give up zoning, so there's no liaison assignment available to Aaron. If going in, we know that Aaron's got zoning as number 1, planning as number 2, and Leah in there, but has no interest, say, in water, and we know what you're interested in, and say you have water number 1, planning, and so forth, we then know, okay, rather than having this, because what happens is, if we, just by the order that it's on the list, some boards get filled, and that person may have been willing to do that board, but they really had their heart set on another board that's just lower down the list, not lower priority, not lower importance, just lower on that list that we had written up, they get eliminated from that opportunity, and they might get eliminated from that lower one as well. By going in ahead of time, knowing what members want, because they're already educated on what these committees require, both in terms of time and skill set, would go a long way to creating a more reasonable and understandable distribution for the members.
So we have the motion in a second, so we can vote on it, and if it doesn't go through, then it can go back and revisit it. Or it can move the motion.
You
made the original motion, right?
Call the vote.
Yeah, and it was already seconded, that's why we had the discussion, so we should go
That's
to
a
a
roll
vote.
call.
O'Brien?
No. No.
Jeremini?
No.
Kaznicki?
No.
McNutt?
No.
Duff?
No.
Newman?
No.
Laborn?
No.
Need a motion to, for me to revisit it?
Well, you can refer it back to
Yeah.
the subcommittee, or you can have more discussion right now, or you could pass the matter by to have a second call to the public, whatever the chair's pleasure is.
So we're a little overdue for second call to the public. So if we can revisit that at the end of the second call. Everybody okay with that? So a motion for the second call?
Motion to open to public?
Second.
Motion by Jeremini, second by Duff to open. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Second call to public.
Don Daly, 2377-2381 Ventura. A couple of suggestions in advance of what I was going to talk about. It was nice to see the Eagle Scout up here looking to do a project for us, and I just was wondering if you haven't sent out the envelopes for every year that says, here's what's going on the lake. Is there a way to put a little, have them maybe make a little card up or something and make have them apply or ask for help from the community? Couple dollar donation goes a lot way. It's 20 or 30 cans that he wouldn't have to, and I'm sure a lot of people would be more than happy to help him hit that. So something to think about. I can't make it happen, but if you guys could, or if you can't do that, or it gets too late, maybe there's some way to put it up on the Facebook site. I'm not a member of it, but I
Yeah,
know
the
people
website,
read it.
yeah.
Maybe that's another way to go about it. Anyways, second suggestion. You guys typically have these where you're going into this subject that's attorney-client privilege, and I know you guys have all the right to do that. My question is why isn't there some kind of label on what the topic is for that? Because there's a lot of times people don't know what that, so you can see today, I assumed because a couple of other times you've put that topic on about my property, and this time I have no idea. So a suggestion may be, you don't have to put what specifically you're going to talk about, but the topic itself would be good to know so that you don't have this ambiguity of what the topic itself is about. I think a lot of people out in the public and a lot of residents would appreciate that. Which takes us to the third one, which is, can I get an update on what's going on with my property on 2381, which you guys are trying to go through a condemnation easement on. And I'd like the village council to tell me, because I always get all the information from the lawyer, and I always get the information from the administrator, but I've been sending the council notes for about 6 months now, which was 2 years after the decision and the vote was taken. And I know there were 4 of us that were on that council, and 2 of them voted to try and approve that, and two of you didn't, right? But it's been 2.5 years now.
Yeah, it was directed by council for Jennifer to handle and address and take that. So that's why we directed towards her when those questions are brought up. Okay, because that's where you're going to get the most precise knowledge or answer. So again, I'm going to direct it to Jennifer.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm looking for is a plan for the village themselves to come up with, okay? Obviously, it's been 8 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is not something that normally takes 8 years, right? So what is the plan to get this thing through some kind of, or over some kind of barrier, through some kind of hole, or whatever it takes to get a resolution to this, right? You guys still have people coming on my property that you guys hire to do your stuff for the sewer, which is completely illegal, right? You can't have people entering my property because you don't have an easement for it, right?
Yeah, I think the question you get about people coming on with being hired by the village, and then going to Mr. Gillum and Jennifer, they weren't hired by the village. So it was not information, or there was no knowledge to us that we didn't call them.
Who
So-
are they servicing? Who are they servicing?
Maybe we should ask Chief Sovic, because he conducted an investigation. Chief, what did your investigation show?
WRC was out there servicing some water that was in the drain.
Water Resource Commissioner's Office.
Yes.
Oakland County.
Yes, I know.
That's
So
not the
who's that
village.
contracted through? Who are they providing the service to? I'm just asking a question.
They provide the service to the entire county.
Okay. To this facility, to this.
We are in the county, so yes, we receive service from the Water Resource Commissioner's Office. Yes.
They do not work for the village. They work for themselves. They work for Oakland County, and they represent all of the communities in Oakland County and handle all of the drain issues. Not at the behest of the village, though. They do what they want to do. There's no input from the village in regard to those issues. And as far as the condemnation is concerned, you know exactly what is going on.
No, I
because
don't. I'm sorry. Ma'am,
Many
I-
times. In
ma'am,
fact, Mr. Daly, I sat down, you started having parking issues after the Goodensons got their variance.
We're not talking about parking
Okay,
issues
you
right now. We're
started
talking
having
about-
issues
we're
with the
talking about- can you
condemnation with the
please-
manhole immediately after you acquired that property from the previous property owner. Immediately after you got that, and you bought that parcel with that manhole on it. You knew that. You knew it was there, you
No, I
saw it
didn't.
was there.
No, I didn't, ma'am.
You
And I'll tell
did.
And I'll tell you why I didn't.
And you know what?
Because
You've
there was no
rejected
easement. There was no
every
easement
letter
when the
that has
property
come
search
to
was
you.
done,
Yeah.
and I bought it in the winter.
Okay, so
and you
the
guys-
village
you
is
guys
following
followed-
condemnation. That's the
interrupt
answer.
this again, 'cause
They're
it's-
going through
it's-
condemnation procedures, and they're required by law to do certain things, and that's what they're doing. There
Ma'am,
is no other
ma'am,
negotiation with
ma'am,
you.
there's-
They're
ma'am,
pursuing
that's been going on
condemnation.
I'm gonna step in again, you guys. I'm gonna step in at this point
Ma'am, that's
again.
been going on
Mr.
since
Daly.
January.
It's been going on
2.5
for
years
12
ago.
years.
First-
12 years.
No, it hasn't.
And
First,
what
wait.
Mr. Powell said to you tonight, he has said many other times to you.
Mr. Powell hasn't talked to me about the septic.
He did
today.
earlier.
No, he
What he
didn't.
said about the plat,
I don't know what you're talking about, ma'am. He did not talk to me about anything about the septic,
About
the
the
sewer
parking.
system today. He
Okay.
talked to me
All
about
right.
nothing about that, so I'm not sure what you're talking about.
okay.
Mr. President, point of order, the time is
Time
elapsed.
is up. Time is elapsed, Mr. Daly.
Okay.
Appreciate
Can
your
I,
concern.
can I get an answer to what the time frame is gonna be for all that to happen? It's been, again, as I said, it's been 8 years.
The answer
Since
would
I
be,
brought it to your
I
attention.
don't-
You guys didn't
yeah.
even know it existed.
The answer would be, at this point, I can't give you a definitive answer.
Okay.
Hi. I'm William Berndorf. I live at 264 Angola Street. I've lived in this village for close to 40 years. And I really appreciate all that you council people do, because it's a hard job being a council person. And you do this out of just wanting to help the community. And I think that's great. I really feel comfortable in this village. I went away over the winter time for about 6 weeks, and I was told by one of the police officers that I should let them know that I'm leaving town, and I did. And every day for those 6 weeks, a police officer came to my house and walked around in the cold weather through snow and sleet to make sure my house was in great shape and that nobody had messed with it. And I really appreciate that. I am a very close friend of Mr. Daly's, and I've lived here, like I said, for 38 years, and he's lived here pretty much about the same amount of time that I have. And he and I go out for boat rides almost every night, and I listen to his, he's so upset about what's going on with his situation and the sewer that was put in that is on his property. And I just think that this village should take into consideration his issues and move that sewer off of his property. We are constantly doing work on the roads in the village. To send a crew over there for whatever time it takes to move that and get it placed in the right-of-way where it should have been placed originally is something that this village should be doing for the reasons that I just told you about, that I like living here, okay? There's no reason why he should have to come home and be stressed out on a regular basis because he's not getting the answers for problems that have been going on for 8.5 years. This should be taken care of. He is a resident of the village, and the position of this council is to help the residents that live here. This is a very simple thing that could be looked at and done, and I don't know why we're making this such a difficult issue when we can spend a little money to move things out of the way and make it right for a resident that has lived here for close to 38 years. I know that I would be very upset if I were dealing with this for 8.5 years and spending time writing letters to all of you, and nothing is really going in the direction that can help solve this problem. And I think you guys really need to look at this, because it's not that big of a deal. And really what it's come to is a lot of, like, we saw what happened here just a moment ago with the tension of this situation. Just move the sewer. Somebody made a mistake. It's like, we all make mistakes, right? Whoever made the mistake and put the sewer on private property, okay, it happens, just move it. Take the road crew, like I said a few moments ago, that are working on paving these streets and doing whatever they're doing, and just send them over there for a day or two and move it. If it costs $3,500, so what? If it costs $5,000, so what? Because there was a mistake made and the sewer was put on private property, just move it. Simple. Simply move it. Thank you for your time. Thank you, all of you in the village, for doing what you do, because it ain't easy. I know it. And I appreciate what you do.
Dave Labor, 2335 Shaken. There we go.
Okay, I just want to clear something out. Mind giving you one too many here.
You going back?
Because one of them had something written on it.
This one?
I just want to clarify something. I was at the Water Management Board, and they said I was supposed to have a meeting with the council, and I canceled and so forth. That's not true. The way I set it up with the chief was, I had appointments. I'll see how it works out, and then we can figure it out. There was not any part that I said, yes, I was going to do that right then and there, that week. I had to go to Lansing in order to get some help. I got the help, and I'm waiting for another source. Here, we'll go through it together, okay? And basically, Pat, I'm doing it because you asked a question about canal. You know why there's no boats on the top of the picture? Does anybody know? A canal? I know you know. Anybody else know? The reason being is they have riparian rights. and you can't dock a boat there. You can navigate in that canal, but you can't dock. So in order for you to dock a boat, you have to have riparian rights. So that's why, and this is what it looks like. See how the property goes all the way here? And it goes from the front yard all the way back there.
Just for my edification, is this part of the island? This is Tampa or what?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's Oak Island.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay?
all right.
So in other words, it would be like somebody coming to your house and parking their car in their front yard, and you call the police and say, hey, somebody is parking on my lawn. Guess what? They're gonna come over and kick them out. The same thing with the riparian rights. People do not have a right to park their boat on that water. They can navigate and go everywhere, but they cannot park their boat there. This is the next page is section that covers riparian rights. And what it says basically is they have, underneath the water is their property if it has riparian rights. Okay, now, next page, let's go here. This is what we sent out to our citizens for a zone appeal. Look at the park. Does the park show that they have water in front? You see it? At the type park, you see land there. This is the decisions they're made if a house is gonna have 5 feet or 35 feet as far as easement. Okay? Now, I came to council 7 times saying, look, we can solve this problem because this councilman put his boat in the park that he wasn't part of the park. So I said to council, just get him to get a permit. And if he can get a permit, he can stay there. That's it. He wrote the permit. It's right there. Now, if you can take the time, I also put down the map of where he's gonna put it. And if you see that, it looks like his diagram is gonna be his next door neighbor's yard, not in the water. Here is a picture. Yeah, here's a picture. And here's his boat right here. The white lines here is his property. This is the park. That boat is 100% in the park. Get it? Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
That's it. So
Oh,
this
here.
is 100% in the park. This is what that park looks like. Okay. I would appreciate if you have any questions of this, please let me know. The other thing is, I'm thinking of bringing a person to come here and talk to you about the subject, riparian rights. Because the chief decided that he does not have to move his boat. DNR came and told him that boat is in violation, but yet the chief does not realize, or he is not authorizing for him to get that boat out of there. He sat all winter there and all summer. This has been going on for 20 years.
Not our current chief.
I'm sorry?
Not the current chief. Not the current chief? You said the chief, not our current chief, right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I would spend 2 hours with the chief to explain things. And for some reason, he told him he can keep it there. Am I correct, chief?
No, sir.
You send me a letter
Point of order, Mr. President, time has
saying you had a
elapsed.
right to be there. Okay.
Mr. Steinbach.
Anyhow, well, now you know. In that package that I gave you, as DNR, that said, it's an violation. You either bring us the survey of your property or else. And he didn't bring the survey. And the reason he did is because he can't get a permit.
Mr. Labor,
So,
appreciate the time.
by the way, on the way out, look at that board. We had 81 men and 1 woman on the council for that whole thing. The best times I had in the council, we had 3 women, 4 men, 3 women. We had a balanced council. Right now, we have the good old boy network.
Second call.
Well, I will say, Mr. Laborn, this is the most organized I've seen your stuff so far.
Well, I did it for you. And
Thank
if you have any questions, please call me, because I only went through half of it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Dave Renwick, 685 Amelia. You've crossed into my bailiwick with the audible gasp when you said that the sound system was going to cost $18,000. That was me. I don't know how many of you have been here, but 15, up until 15 years ago, I taped the council meetings and offered them. Did anybody see them on Comcast? Break my heart, say nobody did. Nobody? Oh. They were on Comcast, then I made them available at Entertainment Tonight. By a year into it, you could hear everybody at the table. It took me a year to figure out what to do, but all you guys need is 2 shotgun microphones. I actually had them probably right about there, mounted to a 1x2, and they were just spread out. I also crossed them in the way that you can. I offered the administrator a feed. She was, let's say, upset at the time, and but you guys could have just as good a sound as the old videos I shot did, with just 2. They at the time, I think they were $80 a piece. I think they're around $100 or $120 a piece now. All you need is 2 microphones, and I think it was 25 feet of cable, and that's it. And that would give you the whole table. What you guys are doing right now, I don't want to take up your time. I know this meeting is running long. But what you guys are doing right now, you've got microphones in front of you, which I actually spoke to the previous, 4 previous administrators about this. You've got microphones in front of you. You're talking into the table. Nobody can hear you out there. It's like if somebody on the stage was talking into their chest. You can't hear them. You can hear me if I talk to you. What you guys got to do too when you're at the table, talk like you're talking to the person at the table that's farthest away from you. Talk in that level of a voice. But people have a natural inclination when there's a microphone in front of them. If you look at people coming up here to speak, they lean into the microphone. It's just natural. It's what people do. I don't, because I know this, but yeah, you can have a good sound system that gets all of you and will go to those speakers for a lot less than $18,000. I was aghast, literally. I would encourage you to get a couple more bids on such a thing, because that's just outrageous.
That's what we voted.
Okay,
That's
no,
what we voted.
I saw that, but I was amazed that even made it as far as it did at the table, because that's just a egregious amount of money for what you're talking about. You're talking about, and having 9 microphones at the table going to a feed, that's almost crazy. That's overkill beyond belief. So I would encourage you to look into, what do they say, KISS, keep it simple, stupid?
Yeah.
That's the deal. And I would be happy to supply anybody with one of the old DVDs if they want to see what it sounded like, because you could hear every word. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Mike Dorsey, 2425 Brisbane. Mike had mentioned that there was going to be a meeting, or Dave did, between the resident that said he wanted to make some subjective improvements or changes to the, I have a request. If that's done, can you see to it that it doesn't spread out to fill in any more of the park? There's hardly any park left there now in that area. And I think, I was at the meeting when that gentleman brought it up, and I think what he was trying to do is run more of it along Brisbane and then go right up behind that house to make the circle, which Larry, the fellow that spoke earlier, lives there. He's tremendously upset because he's lived there for eons, as old as the park is probably. But this really bothers that man because of the size of it, what it's done to taking that whole park and turn it into dirt. However, being subjective, that means that it's going to change each time someone comes up with a better idea. If this gentleman who was at the meeting said that he had access to all the equipment needed to move any of that dirt around, he can bring the dump trucks, the dozers, the unloaders, whatever needs to be there, and move the dirt wherever it needs to be. My suggestion is load it in those dump trucks and move it up behind the exercise stations along Glengarry. And get that open space opened back up. I mean, it's well documented how healthful, how good it is for your emotional health, your mental health, physical health, just open spaces without filling things in. And that's what's happened there. We used to watch the people walk through there daily with their dogs. Some of them stopped and had picnics, so on and so forth. Now they're all kind of going around and shaking their heads and stuff. I'm not against the BMX track. I think it's a cool idea. If I was a kid, I'd love to ride on that. But I just don't think it's in the right spot. I think, if this gentleman's willing to do it, have him move it up there where it's not going to affect as many people. Thank you for consideration.
Thank you.
Hi again, William Burndorf, 264 Angola Street. I just wanted to, something came to mind, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear in my thoughts and what I'm saying to the council. So there's a condemnation proposal or in works to take the property that the sewer is on for, I believe it's $8,500, is that what it is? That they, oh, we don't know. Whatever it is, it's a dollar amount to take over that property. So it would be a much nicer gesture, so to speak. Instead of condemning that property for whatever the cost is of $8,500 or whatever it comes to be, to again send equipment over there and move it instead of investing in the cost of the condemnation. Okay, make it simple. you know, it's common sense, okay? It's common sense, so let's look at that from that point of view, so that everybody leaves happy, instead of creating a situation where you have a party who is a resident of this village and should be supported by the council of this village, because that's what we elect our councilmen for, to help us, to be supportive of us, and to make sure that we are all taken care of, so to speak. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. If it costs a certain amount to take the property away, and it costs a certain amount to just move that sewer and they wash each other out, then that's the way I would hope the council would look at this, okay? Thank you.
Jeff Miller, 2612 Brisbane. I've been standing here listening the whole night. It sounds like this gentleman does, if that sewer is on his private property, there needs to be an easement created, or it needs to be moved. Now, I don't know the particulars, but I haven't heard anybody here say that he's wrong. So, if it's on private property, I know what I would do with it, but.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Dave Renwick again, I'm sorry, seriously. I was gonna mention this when I was up here before. You guys, I don't know if any of you have seen it, but you have a video policy. Actually, I believe it was called a videotaping policy. Ain't nobody used videotape anymore. But it was created to keep me from videotaping the meetings. That took care of that microphone I was talking about. I had to mount it on the ground. But even with it mounted on the ground, I still got good sound. But you may want to revisit that videotaping policy, because I believe it should still be on the books. And there have been TV stations in here that have broken that policy. And if you're going to enforce it against a member of the public, you got to enforce it against the TV stations too. So, and actually the setup they've got right now may be violating it. So you may want to just revisit that videotaping policy. Thank you very much.
Motion to close. Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman to close. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion closed. Going to circle back around to 13C, committee assignments. Do we give that back to the committee to revisit? We have more discussion right here. How does everybody feel about that?
Can we make a motion to not have a committee and have it be an agenda item for all of us to discuss as a full council? I think that would be more effective than sending it to 3, when it would affect all of
Everybody.
us. Just make more better use of our time.
We can make a motion. If you choose to make a motion.
Motion to abolish the subcommittee and have this be an agenda item for all of council to review.
Second.
Motion by Claiborne, second by Jeremini, to essentially limit the council committee, the council assignment committee, and make it just an agenda item. So we have a roll call.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Nutt?
I'm gonna say no to that one.
Newman?
No.
O'Brien?
No.
Kuznicki,
Yes.
Duff,
No.
Claiborne,
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we send it back to committee.
Second.
We have a motion sent back to committee by Duff and second by Newman. Any discussion with that?
Well, maybe it'd be better the second time around. I think you've heard some thoughts and some that maybe you weren't aware of before, you know, and so you have more information to come up with a recommendation, so.
There is open to the public too.
Hmm?
There is an open to the public also.
I'm sorry.
There is an open to the public too, so if anyone else heard our conversation tonight, wants to participate, then invite them out to participate. I get some fresh ideas from the public.
I do think that with what was discussed and said here, that it gives more thought for them. So I think it's more thinking points and more consideration. So.
Can I just suggest you can make an amendment to that motion you already have, to just remove the term limits. It sounded like term limits were the only thing that everybody disagreed on, or.
There's a few other things, so I
Okay,
appreciate
but
it.
you can just remove the term limits and we vote on it if you want. tonight.
Correct, yeah, and I appreciate that.
Get it done.
So we have the motion and the second. Let's roll call.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Germani,
Yes.
Claiborne,
No.
Kuznicki,
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Council liaison reports. Parks and Rec.
We, of course, met with Donald, actually, he goes by Dean Streck, and he is a great candidate for our board, so we're really excited that we approved him today. Looking forward to having him as another member of the Parks and Rec Board. We discussed a little bit the Park and Rec Master Plan, and since then, we've been working on the survey a little bit and things like that, and reviewing a few things. Summarized the bunny luncheon, did some planning for the 5K, got the dates confirmed for sure for Tuesdays in the park. Those are June 17th, July 22nd, and August 12th. The dog show is going on, and our various other events. We had a corn roast, so we scheduled a corn roast meeting, and we did a park walkthrough this past Monday. Looking through the park, assessing things, seeing what needs to be done. We'll be putting together a little summary for Dave and Andy to review, any areas of concern, and then we discussed some things for more long-term planning as well in the parks in that meeting. Discussed a few more things about signage in the parks, not just for BMX, but also for the entire walking through the park area and, understanding how you navigate it. We had a very successful cereal drive. Over about 200 pounds or 300 pounds were delivered. It all fit in my car, Pam, thank you, though. Little Tetris is all it took, and I had it in there. We have a blood drive coming up again in June. We were a little low on our target count this past one, so they've lowered our target to 13 units. So it'll be from 3 to 7:30, and that'll be on June 9th. And that's about everything. And we did have a great turnout for public, especially for Park and Rec. It was great to have some folks there to talk to about what's going on.
Zoning Board.
We have not met yet. I believe we are scheduled to meet next Tuesday, I believe. I believe there's one case, one applicant. So hopefully we'll have a quorum, knock on wood.
Let's hope so. Here, Water Management Board.
We actually had a great presentation from the progressive companies about stormwater management, what we do, and also shoreline clearing. I definitely recommend you looking up. We learned a lot about the system of how to keep water inside the lake and keep soil on the shore. So there's many different levels of options. They talk about how having a steel seawall can actually have way the waves crash and how it washes it all out, and ways that you can manage that, especially with wake boats being on a lake that's not, it's not Lake Michigan size. So there's some components they talk about. And also our the drainage of our wastewater and how we can mitigate some contaminants entering into the large body of water itself. So, bunch of information. Definitely watch it. It's a good one. Goose Nest Destruction. We actually went out for round 2, just about 2 weeks. Had some luck with there. I believe it was about 25 hangers right around there for the second collection. Shrink wrap recycling program. As you see, that was a success this year. Had a good little turnout. It is up there on the yard. We discussed more details about our safety fairs coming up. It's running up May 24th alongside of the 5K over there. So look for a little fun little stations off to the side to learn a few little Q&A. We had further discussions about harvester, in particular the eco harvester that we've been looking into, seeing if it is cost benefit. Jerry Schlapp is actually taking that on, and he is trying to put together a presentation to present to council, so we can weigh in our opinions to see if it would be a cost benefit or if the residents would actually want it or not. Both clean station signs are all up and everything, we're off rolling, and yeah, that covers all that. All good.
Planning.
And Planning Commission, just like we voted on tonight, over the introductions, as we sent to council the adoption to the ordinance 106A-127, which we voted for. Move it along to the second reading.
I'll be brief. Maybe. I just want to thank Mr. Berdorf for his kind words regarding our property winter checks. Most of the snowbirds have returned. We have a couple of stragglers left. At one time, we had 22 people gone at one time, so we take great pride in checking your properties for you. And we wanted to thank all the homeowners that did drop off snacks and appreciation for checking their properties. Nothing will ever get wasted. And hopefully you're on the shift when it comes in, so you get the good pickings. Anyway, we graduated 66 people from the boater safety class. We had 2. Our most recent class was May 10th. We had 33 in each class. The boat will be in the water very soon, hopefully this weekend, and our first marine patrol will be May 24th, Saturday. And one more thing. One of the things that Chief Ellsworth left me was a great crew. He always said that we hired good people and we can make them better cops. And so just a story I want to talk about Officer Crowell real quick. He just wrote this call for service report. It's a check on well-being. Said, so-and-so recently lost her husband. I know that she lives alone and I have had many previous contacts with her. I wanted to check her well-being. She was in good spirits and stated she was moving along. She was happy about the support of her family and friends and added that she was not leaving the house. She thanked me for stopping in and I added that if she needed anything to give us a call. How many police departments do you see that in? Well, I know at least one, so kudos to Officer Crowell for checking on her, and so it's one of the things that that separates us from other agencies, so that's all I have for you tonight.
Can I ask you a question? At one time on the Low Green Lake Facebook page or on the website, it used to have pictures of the officers with their names. Is there any way that they can put that back out there so that
That's coming.
who's who when?
It's coming. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the suggestion.
Good idea.
You can handle Jennifer's update or will I pass them?
I know Jennifer's been working on the budget. Again, we'll have the draft budget for you a week from Friday, so.
Your turn.
Couple comments that I hope will be brief. First of all, a lake treatment is scheduled for next week. I know I've gotten a couple emails, couple calls, and I've seen it myself. There is a fair amount of algae that's developing around the lake. I was in touch with Progressive, and they were going to pay specific attention to a couple of the areas around Oak Island when they come out to do their survey this week. But again, we're anticipating the survey this week, and then a full treatment next week before the Memorial Day holiday. So. Last night, I was at the Commerce Township Board of Trustees meeting. You may recall I mentioned before in some of my comments that Commerce Township has grown increasingly frustrated with Oakland County and the contractual cost increases that the county is trying to pass along to not just Commerce Township, but a lot of other communities in the county. We experienced it ourselves with the increase in the charge for police dispatch services. Last year, the township experienced in the increased cost for the Oakland County Sheriff's Department patrols in the township.
Significantly.
The township learned earlier this year that the county was proposing to pass along comparable increases in terms of the costs that it charges to the township and then through to the village as well for the assessing and equalization services, assessing the people that set your property value and then upon which your property taxes are based, and then the equalization to balance to make sure that the assessments are fairly distributed throughout the county. To Commerce's credit, they got out in front of the issue when they learned that the contractual increases were coming. They sent out a request for proposals. They actually received three proposals as alternatives to the county's services. I commend the township for getting out in front of the issue. The township also asked if I would participate in a subcommittee and a panel that interviewed each of the three groups that had submitted bids. We did those interviews a couple weeks ago. Not surprisingly, all three of the proposals that the township received that we reviewed were less expensive than the proposed rates that were proposed from the county. So, the subcommittee, after the interviews, we had a unanimous recommendation to the Commerce Township Board that they award the upcoming assessing contract to Assessment Administration Services, which is an organization that's based out of Macomb County. Last night, the Commerce Township Board of Trustees voted unanimously to award the contract to that organization. So as of July 1, in Commerce Township, and therefore in the village, there's a new assessor in town. The downside, it's unfortunate because both at the township level and here at the village, we really have been very satisfied for the most part with the services that we've received from equalization. In particular, the assessor that's been assigned to the township and therefore to the village is a gentleman named Mike Lawalski, and Mike has been spectacular to deal with. He's been very open with our residents. He's been very respectful with the residents. I have never had a single complaint from anyone who has had to deal with Mike on any issue related to their assessment here in the village. Unfortunately, it's not a question of Mike's performance and what anybody thinks of Mike. It's a question of the costs that the administration at the county that is trying to impose on the rest of the county. So we will miss Mike, but I'm confident that the new group that comes in will do a good job. And it's also my understanding that the Water Resource Commissioner's Office is proposing to pass along similar cost increases to the member communities in the fall. It's my understanding, again, that Commerce Township is in the process of putting together a request for proposals for alternatives to the services that are offered by the Water Resource Commissioner's Office. Hopefully, I will be allowed to sit on a group that does the interviews with the bidders for that. But again, I would be very surprised, given the numbers that have been thrown out so far, if we don't have someone new administering and maintaining the storm sewers and the drains here in the village as of the first of next year. But I'll keep you posted as to that. So, finally, just a quick shout out to some of my neighbors, to Scott Liebold, to Patty Kramer, to Jim Kramer, and to my wife. The five of us were out in the rain a week ago, Sunday, cleaning out the flower beds out at the front of our subdivision over on Glengarry and Tampa. So it was productive, but it was wet. But again, I appreciate the help that they provided. So that's all I've got for tonight. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Hopefully it's a safe and fun holiday for everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Just a couple of thoughts. In going through the packet that we had here, I think it's labeled warrant or whatever. Anyway, I noticed that, Dave, Jennifer, and Chris all get reimbursed for your cell phones. I have no problem with that, but should they be bundled, maybe? Or are they bundled, or there's something to look into? I mean, every time you turn around on TV, they're talking about, this service is so much cheaper than that, and they're painting buildings orange, and, I mean, so I just a thought, I never had before that, now that there's three, with Jennifer getting a phone too, that maybe looking into bundling, that's all.
I believe they're a stipend
Yeah.
that's per the
What?
collective bargaining. They're a stipend that is per the collective bargaining agreements.
Well,
Don't they have
but
their
if
own
it's a
plans?
phone.
Yeah, they're
I mean,
on
their own
if
plans, it's a
If they get a
reimbursement.
phone that's
Yeah,
bundled.
it's a reimbursement.
It's a
They have
reimbursement.
their own plan.
Per their contract.
It's not a group plan.
So it's a fixed number, it's not, it doesn't pay them for the actual cost of their cell phone per month. It's just an agreed upon number that we've agreed as a council
Oh, okay.
to subsidize them
Yeah,
for.
well, anyway, it was just worth a thought.
Good thought.
And then, I was wondering, it's been all pretty quiet. Dave, is there any updates or feedback on the short-term rentals in the village? Are they okay? Is there any issues? Everybody's been complaining, everything's working out okay?
Council put a cap of eight
Right.
short-term rentals. We have 8 licensed
eight.
rentals right now. And I'm not aware of any problems or any complaints.
That's good.
Nope.
Yeah. And then I saw, when the officer that does, he goes around, the ordinance officer, there was a chicken coop thing, or ordinance, that he issued something on that? Was that one that, somebody who had a chicken coop, a permit, or someone who wanted to have chickens and didn't go through the proper channels, do you know?
For all the time that we spent with the subcommittee and all the discussion we had at the council table, we have one permit that's been applied for and issued
More chickens than that.
for chickens in the
village, I'm pretty confident.
in the village. And then I think the incident you're referring to is, there was a complaint that came in to the code enforcement officer about chickens running at large in an area not where there is a licensed.
Okay. I was
Chicken.
just kind of curious. I mean, because I hadn't heard anything about the chickens either, and there was a lot of time and energy spent on that, so.
Chicken across the road. Get away from the ordinance officer.
And lastly, Mark, I guess I'm a little confused. What's the first date for the farmer's market?
June 3rd,
June 3rd.
first Tuesday.
I have it here that it's every Tuesday,
Not gonna conflict with
but
Tuesdays.
I know,
That's
but
part of the plan.
it's confused me down at the bottom of the sheet when it would have been nice. So it starts on the 3rd and it goes until when?
Through September.
Through September. Okay. Thank you. I'll let you talk about it,
Okay.
Leah. That's it. Thank you. Everybody have a good holiday.
We had another productive meeting today at Leia, little longer than normal. We packed 350 what we're calling summer boredom buster bags for our 4th graders across our district. So just essentially a bag filled with different things that the kids are going to be given to utilize at home, hopefully in a very tactile format. So I think they'll be excited about it.
I think
There's
so.
a lot of really cool
There's
things.
pencils and
Yep.
chalk and
Yep.
books and things.
Yeah. Just a quick reminder, with Onwards and Upwards, our annual golf outing is being held on June 7th. It's a great day to be at Links of Novi to raise money for our fireworks and other community-sponsored events. So if you haven't yet gotten your tickets for golf and or dinner, please do before we sell out. And thanks to Andy Stone for his continued work on the Penny Lake Community Well.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all.
Just keep short. Happy Memorial Day. Stay safe out there. We'll see you guys soon.
Phil?
Yeah, just have a happy and safe Memorial Day. Enjoy yourselves.
Ditto.
5K and Bubble Run is May 24th. You can still sign up for that up to the morning of. Garage sale, 29th to 31st. Sign up on May 27th if you want to get rid of some of the stuff that you don't know why you still have. helping on the On and Up events. Lake Rally is June 14th. Still spots available for that. And then also there's DIA now, Art in the Park. If you guys haven't been to the park or around the village, we got those things from the DIA up all around. And you can go explore and check them out, and they will be providing us with some details about them soon. Good luck to Carmine on his project, and hopefully he can get some approval from the neighbors. And then finally, thank you to the citizens who came out today. Please bring your concerns, even if you're the only one. The only way we can help you is if we know that there is a concern. And so please come out and tell us, because it goes a long way to making this place the great place that it is. Thank you.
Just everybody have a safe and happy Memorial Day. With that, I think we're going to move into closed session.
Yeah.
Closed session.
We already approved the motion. Yep. So we'll move upstairs.
Are you doing the fireworks, Colorado?